All right, it's time to get back under the hood. We're back with more Fixed Ops Week, brought to you by the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Prepare for the future of automotive retail with Steve Greenfield.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Van Tyne here with Ted Ings and Bella Smylie. We have an exciting guest with us today, Steve Greenfield of Automotive Ventures. And Ted, I know we're going to unpack quite a lot about what's happening in the industry.
You're right, Sarah. We always do. Bella, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. And Steve, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
It's great being here as always. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Fixed Ops in the news. We're following a lot of the developments, things that you talk about. That Monday morning newsletter, Steve, seems to be a fixture now. Reading about the latest things that you're highlighting and things that you're seeing. So we have some questions for you today, Sarah and I. But first, we thought we'd ask Bella on behalf of Northwood University to ask the first question today to get things started.
Absolutely. Yeah, so AI has really been the talk of the town. And my question, as somebody who is going into the automotive industry, where do you see AI being the most impactful on the fixed ops side within a dealership?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've seen sort of the first wave of AI being more on variable ops, answering phone calls, et cetera. But I do think we're going to see more and more on the fixed ops side, whether it's helping someone who's in a BDC focused on fixed ops, just becoming more productive, sort of being a persistent co-pilot to anticipate what they're trying to do and give them some easy buttons to push, so to speak. And then I think that what we haven't yet seen, which is really exciting, is probably where AI is going to touch the service writer or the tech themselves and trying to drive productivity gains and more throughput, et cetera. So it's exciting because we've seen, like I said, a little bit on the variable ops side, but I think we have yet to see real breakthroughs in terms of AI helping on the fixed ops side.
Awesome. And Steve, from what we can see, that is what's coming. That's next. And it's going to go to the service advisor and the technician. And there's a lot of potential there in what could be.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's been 10 years now that if you ask the average dealer what their biggest challenge is, it's hiring techs. And then dealers will also say, well, I'm already at capacity. I don't have any more capacity in my bays. And I think we need to fundamentally question those things and say, if you can't hire techs, how do we make the existing techs more efficient and drive more throughput? And if you can't, build new bays, how do you make sure that every single minute of every single day you have, movement in the bays and there aren't any misspent time by either a tech who's under a vehicle or in the bay in general? And I think AI is going to help with all of this. The same way that all of us are exploring sort of using ChatGPT to make our lives easier, I think for service writers and technicians, we're going to see a dramatic increase in throughput and efficiency.
Sarah, it seems lately, whenever I have a question about anything in business or in life, I go to ChatGPT and I ask the question and I get an answer. Sarah, I'm wondering if that's going to happen for technicians and service advisors as well.
That's a great point, Ted. And I think, it's going to be really interesting to see what is coming for the complexity of what customers will be asking and also how technicians will convey some of this information. And Steve, on that subject, so, we're seeing more and more technologically enhanced vehicles, and we're seeing an appetite for customers to really have a connected experience within their vehicle. But some of those components, there's going to be challenges and a learning curve when it comes to technicians implementing some of these tools, including AI. What are, in your opinion, what are some areas that technicians need to be upskilled with as more technology gets added to these vehicles?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's somewhat of a double-edged sword, right? So I think the combination of cars that become more complex and the connected car can effectively diagnose itself and then drive the driver back to the franchise dealer. I think overall that's going to mean that franchise dealers have more loyalty over the lifespan of the car than they've ever had before. And then combined with that, the cars, to your point, Sarah, are becoming much more complex. And just like you think about where you would take your iPhone to get serviced, you're going to bring it back to the Apple store. And I think with a consumer who buys one of these new vehicles off the front line, they're going to understand how technologically advanced these things are and not trust the independent repair shop to work on that. So all of those are great tailwinds for dealers. I think we're going to see more loyalty back to fixed ops than ever before. But then, Sarah, to your point, the technicians are going to have the right tools and the right training to work on these cars that are become more and more sophisticated. So if I'm a technician out there, I've got to think, hey, part of my career path now is staying sort of ahead of that curve, making sure that I'm constantly upscaling myself, because to stay on top of all these cars with all the technology, you can't just be sitting on your hands waiting for the cars to come in. You're going to have to continue to be open-minded, to be learning for your entire career.
Bella, you and I had a conversation before this started today about AI and, the efficiencies it may or may not be creating. I don't know if there's another question you might want to pose to Steve, in terms of whether the AI is actually delivering, efficiency, or in some cases even more work, right? For the dealer.
Yeah. How does AI look within a dealership with workflow? I know being a student and seeing some peers use AI, sometimes it can create more problems by giving incorrect work or giving incorrect prompts. So they have to go back and it creates more work. Or is it doing that in a dealership, or is it actually accelerating that workflow pace and increasing the benefits from it?
Well, this is a great question. I think we all need to be careful about AI hallucinating. An example would be, if I'm going to use AI as a technician to help diagnose what the problem is quicker, we sure don't want the AI misdiagnosing the car and then I have to go work or replace a part that doesn't need replacing, for example. So it's a great question. I think that the dealers are going to have to work closely with the vendors to make sure there aren't any misdiagnostics, and the AI doesn't hallucinate. The promise is there, but to your point, we're also going to have to keep a watchful eye on this to make sure that it's not leading folks astray, because it can be a dramatic productivity tool. As Ted, you just mentioned, we're all using it in various aspects of our lives, but we've always got to be a little cautious to make sure that there aren't hallucinations. And in the case of fixed ops, I think it would be potentially recommending work that doesn't need to get done.
Absolutely.
We had a panel recently, Bella. I think you may have been a part of that with Marco, a technician on the Roundtable, and a company called All Data. And All Data cautioned us on the panel. They said, AI is great. However, okay, you can't always rely on the information that AI is going to give the dealership. And they've, like you said, that really is a good point. A lot of this still has to be worked out and worked through.
Yeah, I mean, AI is as smart as we make it. It's a man-made thing, so we're the programmers of it. The computer can only be as smart as us. So, do you see the AI becoming smarter than us in the future with fixed operations?
Relatively, I guess the way I'd answer that is, AI should be able to do very quick, complex problem solving that it could take a lot of person hours to figure out. It should be able to instantly come up with what the right solution is. So if you're diagnosing a very complex problem, and I've never worked, fixing vehicles other than on my own motorcycles, but sometimes you kind of get stumped, right? You're watching YouTube videos and you're trying to eliminate what the possibilities might be as you're diagnosing what's wrong with an engine. And I think AI should uniquely be able to short circuit that. So the time that a technician would spend with a very complex transmission problem, they should be able to short circuit that from hours down to minutes, maybe even down to seconds, if AI works appropriately and doesn't hallucinate. So I think the promise is there, but it's kind of, I mean, what I would say, Bella, to your point, it's kind of like garbage in, garbage out. We've got to be very careful and intentional with what data we're feeding into the AI models to make sure that it isn't just out reading Reddit threads or Google searches, that we're very, very controlled, that it's getting good quality data about parts and service records, et cetera, from either the DMS or from the OEMs to make sure it isn't hallucinating and it doesn't cause more problems and actually can short circuit the amount of time that a technician needs to spend under any given job.
Wow. Steve, to kind of pivot a little bit, but one of the conversations that Ted and I have been having, across the roundtable has been, AI relative to some of the repairs and maintenance for older vehicles. We're seeing an uptick in vehicles being older than they ever have been, and customers holding onto them for longer. But then also having some price sensitivity and some behaviors where they're looking to ascertain information early in the dealership conversation. So whether it's inquiring about how much a part or tires are going to cost on the vehicle, and we're seeing a lot of AI communication happening in some of those early conversations. How do you see AI embracing or dealerships embracing AI to secure and retain customers that are holding on to vehicles for longer when they're shopping up against the independents?
Yeah, it's a great point, Sarah. So, I think like we saw during COVID, where we had new car shortages, which meant more expensive new cars and used cars, which, counterintuitively meant, consumers were spending more money in fixed ops than ever, because I think that they said, look, if I'm going to be stuck with my car because I can't afford to buy a new or used vehicle, I'm going to invest in it. We saw, the number of years, the average age of the vehicles increase, and consumers spend money in fixed ops with car dealers to maintain their quote unquote investment, their car, and the car is lasting longer. I think the same thing's going to play out here. Is that, with affordability issues from a confluence of reasons here that are playing out across the economy, we're going to see consumers holding onto their cars longer. And I think that the aggressive dealers are going to figure out ways to use AI to proactively reach out to consumers who have bought and serviced their cars with them in the past and convince them to effectively come in for more regular maintenance to protect their investment, because it's going to become increasingly harder for at least some segment of consumers out there to afford thinking about buying a new or used vehicle. So like we saw during COVID, I think the dealers that are aggressive and very progressive with AI are going to be able to use it as a tool to reach out to their customers to ensure that they're coming in more frequently for fixed operations work to maintain the value of their investment.
Steve, on that note, a little bit of a segue. Affordability seems to be a lingering issue in the industry, and there's been certainly a lot of challenges on the variable side. And the awakening or reawakening of the service drive to all departments of the dealership as being a tremendous pipeline and resource, not only for the service, but the parts, and now the variable side as well, and a source of good quality trades. Steve, I don't see that going away. That seems to be now the mainstay, and all eyes are on what's happening in fixed operations within your own dealership in your service drive.
Yeah, I think that more than ever, it's an important lever that dealers have control over, right? I mean, I think that what we're hearing out there is affordability for both new and used vehicles is a challenge. There's ongoing threat of OEM selling directly, although it seems like there's been some steps back recently with the Honda Sony joint venture effectively unwinding, and a lot of pressure against Scout as part of Volkswagen, but they're still out there. And I think that the ominous threat of the Chinese potentially coming into the market all means that probably dealers in general are going to feel pressure on the new car side in terms of at least front end gross margins. So if I'm a dealer and I'm downstream from my automaker and I can't really control what kind of margin I'm going to be able to make on the front end of the new car, things I can control, to your point, Ted, is like used car inventory, if I can source those out of the service drive, and definitely in terms of parts and service, trying to be more proactive with, ensuring the folks that I've sold cars to in the past, my personal vehicles in operation, are being loyal and coming back in for service, which we know is more than half of a dealer's profitability overall from fixed ops. So I do think that dealers need to be more intentional around the things they can control, not to worry too much about things they can't control. What they can control is how much effort and intention they put into fixed ops. And then to your point, make sure that you're converting folks that come in for the service drive into a good source of used vehicles. And you've highlighted, Sarah and Ted, over the years, many, many sources of best practices about folks that have done that very effectively. So I think this is an important lever for the remainder of the year for dealers to pay attention to and make sure they're focusing their efforts on things they can control and not worrying as much about things they can't control.
Steve, coming back to the technician, um, also, it seems, especially in the last couple of years, these video multi-point inspections done by the technician that are now front-facing, where the customer receives that and gets a chance to see the video, which helps build trust. It's very transparent. They can see the doctor who's going to work on their vehicle and hear it right from that person. That seems to be growing in popularity. And once a dealership embraces it and gets it started, that seems to be something, AI or not, that's been very effective, and more dealerships are doing it than ever before.
Yeah, I know that you've got Joe Shaker and Tully Williams on this, and I'll make sure that I listen to their segment. But it's pretty interesting. Phase one that Joe sort of invented the category with True Video is to bring the trust and transparency for a consumer who historically would have just gotten some text around, hey, this is what we recommend in terms of getting work done on your vehicle. Now I get a video. So I'm at home, I get a text, I can click on the link, I can watch the video and see exactly the parts that they're recommending that I replace on the car, which is a great opportunity for dealers for the upsell, but also bringing more trust and transparency. And then as is discussed on the segment with Joe and Tully, now we've got AI overlaid on top of the video to show the quality of these videos that are going out. So is the technician, when they're recording the video, saying all the things they're supposed to say? And if not, where are their coaching opportunities to make sure they can drive even more trust, which is going to mean, higher CSI for consumers, and also, probably more sell through for upsells in the service drive. So I think this is a great example of, bringing more trust and transparency to the consumer, while at the same time driving more revenue for the dealer, all through innovative technologies that now have AI being layered on top.
Sarah, I think you're taking a page out of your book, okay? And that the video is a very, very strong tool to, build relationships and to, people trust video, Sarah.
They do, Ted, and it's exciting, the video quality score component. I mean, this is no different than really having the calls being coached or monitored on the sales side of the equation. Now you're extending this into your service operations, and you're inspecting what you expect from your technicians and what the communication is happening with your customers. It's incredibly exciting. And Steve, on this vein, as dealerships are looking at implementing new technology, what is your advice when it comes to balancing, having a solid process and good customer communication, but then also looking for these process enhancements and ways to facilitate the experience better?
Yeah, so this is going to sound cliche, Sarah, but I've talked about this in the past. One is, technology can't solve process issues. And unless you've got your processes worked out, what you want your employees to be doing, how you want them to act, I think then and only then you look for unlocks and support from technologies that are out there overall. So dealers shouldn't be saying, hey, I can solve, what is a process issue with technology. But then I do think that once you've got the processes and the objectives set out, then technology can be a great unlock. And then the other thing I'll just mention is, it may, again, sound pretty intuitive, but start backwards from what metrics you want to drive. So the example we just used, I mean, if you can increase CSI while at the same time increasing upsells in the service drive, that seems to be a win-win, right? Both sides of the equation are winning. Too often, I think in the past, dealers have said, I've got to go increase sales, but, hell be damned to the CSI, for example. And I think that we need to now start creating win-wins. And we do that by being very crystal clear with what metrics we want to drive, making sure the processes are in place for our employees to follow. And then and only then really are looking at technology solutions that can support all of that, the metrics and the processes we're looking to aspire to.
Bella, what are you seeing there at Northwood? I know Northwood has a big automotive program.
Yes.
Also, there's a fixed operations program. What is the take on young people your age, okay, who are going to Northwood and pursuing a career, perhaps in automotive, as automotive being a place that they'd want to be for their careers?
Yeah, absolutely. At Northwood, my major's data analytics, but I'm very involved in our automotive programs through the auto show that we have. So I get to see, and my friends that are in the major, I get to see the way that they're testing out new technologies. So I actually have a group of my friends that are down in Atlanta, Georgia, and they're doing a new car, so NU, new, funny play on Northwood, but new cars, it is a simulation that they do for a week where they run a dealership. And it's really, really cool because they get to test out these new technologies every single year and how it is being incorporated and changing the way that dealerships work and the way they're even perceived by the public. So I think it really hones in on everything that you've said with the implementation of AI and technologies coming into the dealership realm, just all those changes, but the way that my generation is and the way that we're trying to absorb all the technology that we can to be, like we said, one step ahead to really put our best foot forward. And I think that's also the beauty of Northwood as well. They give us those technologies, they give us those resources to do that. So just being in front of the game, having that leg up before other companies or other competitors around us get to that technology as well.
It's an exciting place to be, Steve, right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think equal parts exciting and daunting, right? It's hard to keep up with these changes, but I think, thank goodness we got people out there like Bella for the next generation in the workforce that are staying abreast of these things. But no, it's a good question. I think that if I'm anyone, working at any dealership across the nation in fixed ops, I think what I would encourage folks to do, at least be playing with these technologies, right? Off the shelf, you can have ChatGPT on your phone for free. You don't have to pay for a subscription. And at least you can be experimenting with these things to know exactly what it is we're dealing with. I think you're going to see more AI being embedded into multiple software vendors, and you're going to have to get used to it. It is the new frontier. So I would encourage anybody out there who hasn't sort of downloaded ChatGPT or Anthropic, Claude, at least get one of these AI tools and be playing with it. Ask it questions. Start with just asking the questions that you would ask Google and see the answers and iterate with it a bit. People will be shocked, I think, at the sophistication of these tools and how quickly they're progressing. And then start asking them automotive questions. And you may be surprised at how sophisticated these things are becoming.
Sarah, great information from Steve Greenfield.
It's always a pleasure to have Steve Greenfield with us here at the Roundtable. And Steve, just to touch base again, Automotive Ventures. What are you seeing out there from the investing standpoint? What should dealers be mindful of today?
Yeah, I mean, just for frame of reference here. So we're investing early, over 5 years in 3 funds. We've made 56 investments. We've invested in companies like WarCloud that's been on the show before, and SparkServe that's been on the show before. We didn't get to invest in Joe Shaker's company, True Video, but Joe is an investor with us. So we're pretty tight knit around the ecosystem. And I would think at this point, we don't probably miss much of the early stage companies that are getting funded in terms of technology vendors to dealers. And I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited by the sheer number of AI companies we're seeing. A lot of them are either handling phone calls entirely or providing analytics for phone calls. We invested in Rocked, which is helping identify where there's opportunities in terms of skill gap and, training folks in fix ops. I think that, we will see a wave of new companies based on the back of AI technology that are really, really going to help dealers overall. So I'm excited as an investor. I think dealers should stay very open-minded to the new vendors that are out there, but at all times really focus on what metrics am I trying to drive, and then only be open-minded to those vendors that are going to help you drive your metrics.
Steve, what's the best way to reach out to Automotive Ventures and Steve Greenfield?
Yeah, we're at automotiveventures.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. My email is simply steve@automotiveventures.com, and would love to have a conversation with anybody on the show today.
Great. Steve, thank you so much for all you do for the industry.
Love being here. Thank you all.
All right. Bella, great questions. Thank you on behalf of Northwood University for representing the future of our industry. So,
thanks, Bella.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody, Bella Smylie from Northwood University and Steve Greenfield from Automotive Ventures here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
The business model of Automotive Warranty Network has always been to provide the very best service we can to automotive dealerships. We believe very much in partnerships, so we partner with dealerships to help them process their warranty repair orders the best they can, but also stay compliant with a manufacturer policy and procedure.
Dealerships, some of them don't understand the importance of the supporting documentation. The repairs are performed, manufacturer is going to come in and audit them. That supporting documentation needs to stand up in an audit. If not, those monies will be charged back to the dealership. So, important thing that our team provides the dealerships is the information where the supporting documentation does not support the repairs performed, where they could lose those monies in an audit.
Audits are not scary. Audits are actually fantastic learning experiences. I am a big proponent for audits. I am not perfect. I do not think anybody is perfect. AI isn't even perfect. It is such a learning experience, and manufacturers are looking for things differently every year, and it keeps us on our toes. Then I know that I could take that information that I gather and provide it to my other dealerships and say, hey, we need to stay on top of these things.
We offer full warranty administration services from beginning to end, from reviewing technician comments and punch times, looking up and applying labor operations and times in the DMS, and transmitting to the manufacturer for payment. We then follow up on claims daily and account for any differences in payment.
SWAT stands for Specialized Warranty Assistance Team. We provide coverage for admins who could be taking vacation, if there's family medical leave, bereavement, sick time. So we provide coverage so that there's no hiccup between the admin being out and the dealer having their work processed.
We developed an application called CARS, which stands for Claim Accountability and Reporting System, which is a reporting tool that we use to help dealerships improve in their processes. So it's a tool that we use to identify how frequently compliance issues are happening in a dealership. And we can tell dealerships how frequently those problems are happening, which of their staff members is happening with. And then we also offer training to help educate those particular staff members on the types of issues that they're having and help them improve.
I think the biggest thing I love about this company is the owners, David and Jamie. They care about us. They encourage us to do training. They encourage us to make sure that we're master certified in our car lines.
When I started with AWN, we had 30 employees and about 167 clients. Currently, year to date, we're at 1,500 clients and 340 employees and growing. It's pretty amazing. The people that are with us, our clients, we love them. It's a pretty amazing place to be right now.
Get a look behind the scenes and unlock insights from every conversation with Siro AI.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Siro AI panel. And Ted, we're going to be discussing how to make winning a habit with Siro.
Sarah, you're so right. Siro is doing a lot in the industry. We want to welcome Gabe Schiffer, Customer Success Manager at Siro, to the Roundtable. Gabe, welcome to the event.
Happy to be on. Thanks for having me, Ted.
We have heard so much about the great work that Siro is doing in the industry. We're seeing a lot of the impact of AI in our lives, and we've had a couple great sessions already with Siro. So, Gabe, if you don't mind, for our audience, kind of to get us started, tell us a little bit about what Siro is and exactly what you do for the industry.
Yeah, we record, analyze, and offer improvements to any customer-facing conversations that are taken really in a litany of industries, but in this case, for fixed ops, we have seen just fantastic results across the board by creating a great system for visibility into the conversations that service professionals and others in fixed ops are having with their customers, finding their strengths, areas of improvements, and offering those little pieces of gold for people to action on and really just find massive results from those changes that we're highlighting and insights that we're showing.
And Sarah, I'm thinking about all the conversations that are had in dealership. There's probably no better time than right now to deploy Siro and to get started on something like this.
It's so true, Ted and Gabe. Customers are expecting more cohesive communication. They want better practices when they're reaching out to businesses or getting communication from businesses. And those early points in the experience really level set what the customer is going to expect when it comes to servicing their vehicle and having those in-person experiences. But one of the things that I want to touch on with you, Gabe, a lot of times there's a concern because when a dealership is implementing new technology or they're implementing processes, it can be cumbersome. And oftentimes there's a distraction between, what it takes for their team to get used to a new system and setting up all those behind the scenes pieces with processes and the logic in the system. So how long does it take for fixed ops teams to get started when it comes to using Siro?
That's a really good question, Sarah. I think the main answer I would have is we are able to spin this up really quickly, and we're with our customers every step of the way. So when it comes to fixed ops, it's a pretty simple process. We just need a few meetings. We'll have one meeting where we get the processes, all those base sort of special steps that are used in a service setting to ensure that we're incorporating that into their specific system. We run it past them. We make sure that everything's working, and we also ensure that we're integrated with any systems like phones for customers. And that has been set up in as quickly as a few hours for a customer, and they're off and running. We are very flexible in how we train up the teams. We have met our customers where they are. We're able to put out recorded trainings for them if they're on the fly. We know how busy fixed ops can be. So we're able to give them those materials if they need. But we're also happy to have live trainings, office hours, where if users are running into questions or they have little pieces of feedback, we're able to action on it really quickly and help them out to make sure that they're having the best experience possible. Not only that, but we're really happy to work with teams to make sure that there are the incentives correctly in place with the users to make sure that they're really getting the best experience out of it possible. And we've gotten a lot of success from our fixed ops customers in that manner.
Gabe, it's so important. The average price of new cars now, I think, is at an all-time high. People are keeping their cars longer, and service and parts, fixed operations are very, very busy. And while it's all about cars, it's really all about the people, okay, and the communication we have with our customers. And that's where the tools that Siro has really come into play. From what you've seen, Gabe, what business impact has Siro had on fixed ops departments?
Yeah, it's been frankly really massive. We've with one of our customers seen impressive results. So we started our implementation at Berman Auto Group in the end of January, where they had over 2,000 cars come in where they ran service appointments. And in that month, they made roughly $500,000. And come the next 2 months, as users got more and more comfortable with the usage of Siro, that became ingrained in their culture. They set up incentives for their service managers to give them the impetus to make sure that their team was recording, giving feedback, and they made this a part of their day-to-day. Even though they actually had fewer than 2,000, I think they had 1,900 ROs come through the door in March. They had their first ever $1 million month as well. And their RO size increased by 23%. It was a really massive moment, and it just shows the impact of Siro. It was super impressive to hear.
That's incredible to hear, Gabe. And those success stories, what you're describing with the customer experience, that retention, that growth, it really comes down to the communication and the right message at the right time that the customer is receiving in that process. So is there anything your team is building next to support fixed ops teams even better? Because it sounds like what's already in place is incredibly successful, but just curious what else is coming down the line.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you about that. I think we already have some awesome things in place. Obviously, base Siro is already incredibly user-friendly across a litany of industries. Service has found it even more easy to use. They get it very quickly, and they're very fast to adopt and understand. Like I mentioned before, we have an integration with phones. So from the second a customer pulls in to a service department to when a service professional calls them to tell them that their car is ready or that there's other work needed or something was found out during the service appointment, they are able to record all of those different steps from front to end. And then what we're shipping next is a DMS integration for a lot of major DMSs across various systems. So not only will you get the insights from Siro, the conversation, what was happening, the various process steps that were executed, and you can dive into any specific point to listen to exactly what's happening, but you're also able to link it to that specific RO to see the various services offered, whether they were accepted, and the dollar value that was acquired from that appointment as well. So you're not only able to tie what was happening to a service appointment being completed, but to those outcomes as well, which we think is obviously the most important part of this. I can talk to the success that Berman Autos had with us with that increase of 23% on ROs, but really you want to be able to see the outcomes quickly and easily, and that DMS integration really delivers on that. So we're super, super excited to ship that. And of course, there are many more things coming down the pipeline for auto and other customers that will make this an even more impressive, invaluable tool for them in their day-to-day.
And Gabe, not only does this work, but this is an amazing coaching tool, if you could speak to that as well, because it's not just holding people accountable. We want them to get better and learn from the conversations that we have every single day. So dealers that deploy Siro can really help improve their staff. If you want to speak maybe just a little bit to that, because I think nobody wants to go to training, but everybody wants to be developed. And this is a tool that can really help develop people.
That's really a good point, Ted. What I'd say on the coaching aspect, it offers so many different opportunities to give visibility into where your service professionals are doing well, but also highlight those moments of growth. I think most people in service and fix ops are probably doing their job at a pretty high level and succeeding. But what we offer is those little nuggets of truth, those pieces of gold, where let's say someone pulls in to the service department and they're doing their check down, and the service professional simply is just walking through, okay, you need this, you need your tires rotated, your oil needs to be changed, you need these different kinds of services rendered, but they're not really justifying why this should be done. They're not really clarifying the need or the urgency, saying something like, hey, if you do it now, you're going to save yourself a lot of money on the back end. I know this is a high price, but you're actually saving a lot of money in the long term. And that's what Siro is able to surface to their managers and their teams. So not only can they get feedback from their manager, but other team members can listen to what the top performers are doing and hear, oh, this is how they're getting past objections. This is how they're making the customer comfortable with them. And this is how they're building rapport, which is one of the most important things in order to really highlight what people are doing well and how people who might be struggling with certain parts of the role can improve. That's the main thing. It's not really going to be this part where every little piece is going to be micromanaged and things are going to be shot up to managers because someone didn't say the script exactly. It's focusing on a much more holistic view of the skills people are doing, like building rapport, the steps that they're executing, like checkdowns or other things, setting the timeline for when the customer might get this back, things like that, and how they're delivering it, like how fast they're talking, filler words, even the amount that they're asking the customer questions or giving them the space to speak. We're able to track a bunch of different metrics to give you awesome insight into the conversations that are being had, and allow you to use AI to apply a wider lens than you could ever before, almost consulting level executive insights to hundreds and hundreds of recordings. And that's only getting better as we go on. I have to say I'm blown away by what our team is doing here at Siro. The insights are astonishing, and it's changed, as you can see with Berman, the impact is real.
Sarah, you always remind me that we're not just in that car business, we're in the hospitality business. I think people can get their oil changed anywhere, but it's these moments, okay, that Gabe is describing that really separate the good from the great. And I don't know if you want to speak to that, but I think that makes a big difference out there in the real world.
It so does. And Gabe, this is, hospitality is at the forefront of a lot of business best practices today.
Yeah, I think hospitality is a massive part. It's certainly a part of my job as a CSM at Siro. I'm here to make sure that customers' needs are being understood and dealt with, and we're able to deliver on the outcomes that we promise. I think at our current customers, that's certainly the case. But it's being mindful of what their needs are and ensuring that we're able to think ahead of what they might want in the future. Things like the DMS integration were not necessarily things that come out of the blue. We're certainly prideful of our ability to execute and think about what a customer might need, but that's from conversations with customers, asking specifically those in auto what they need and what we could do better. Things like phones and DMS are directly sprouting from these customer conversations. Their opinions are gold to us. And I think our ability to answer on that in the space of months is something that we really pride on ourselves. So not only is it already driving excellent outcomes, increasing CP hours per RO, increasing the average RO size, all these awesome things, even when the number of ROs is lower, but we're also able to just deliver on so much impact by adjusting Siro to the needs of customers, by hearing their feedback and being really agile to that. So it's something that we're really used to, and I would say hospitality is at the core of what we do here at Siro, and certainly something that we try and emphasize with our customers as well.
Gabe, last question I have for you today is I know when I was a manager in retail, I always wanted to make sure that my team, my service advisors in this case, would use the customer's name when they're interacting with them. I thought it made it more personable.
Yeah.
Are you able to program Siro so that if a dealership is looking for a specific thing such as that, that Siro is aware of that and can provide coaching on things like that and looking for that as well?
Ted, that's a really good question. Yes, we are able to do any kind of skill or name mention. Things like that are very much in our wheelhouse, and that's my job, to be able to create these various systems, these evaluation systems, to understand exactly what you want to get at. We want to be able, in your case, Ted, to identify, oh, this service professional, this service advisor was able to say the customer's name repeatedly. They said it X amount of times, or if we have a certain number that we want them to hit, we can also code that in. We're able to do things like that. We're able to add specific skills. So like justifying the value of a certain service is another thing that we're incredibly used to doing. And some very niche things like asking for a donation to St. Jude. I've even had customers do things like that where they really care about charity and they want to highlight that, or talking about a referral, leaving a 5-star review. We have a bunch of different things that we're able to make sure that's custom to you, the things that you look for and the feedback that you give. So at a glance, your service advisors know, hey, I did this, I'm doing well, or these are the things I might want to focus on going forward. And those little changes are where the gold is and where we've driven such excellent results across fixed ops.
Sarah, amazing stuff.
It is. It's so exciting to hear all the innovation that Siro is really bringing to fixed operations departments and dealerships at scale. Gabe, for our audience that's listening today that wants to find out more, get started, and start the conversation, what's the best first step?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sarah. The easiest first step is just to go to Siro.ai. That's our website. Schedule a demo there. Our team is incredibly quick at getting out to you. We'd love to show you what we have, and we think you're going to be really impressed, not only by the features and technology at your fingertips, but by the outcomes that we drive and just the world-changing impact that we're having in the world of auto and beyond.
Gabe, thank you for all that you and Siro are doing for the industry.
Thank you. We're really excited to see where we go. It's going to be amazing.
It's an exciting time, everybody, in automotive. Siro.ai is where you need to go to learn more about elevating your skills and your team to the next level. Gabe Schiffer is with Siro, and Siro is a big part of what's happening now in fixed operations. The technology, it's undeniable, okay, and how strong it is. So, Gabe, thanks for your time today, and appreciate you being here on the Roundtable with us.
Ted, Sarah, thank you for the time. Great to be on.
To learn more, everybody, visit Siro on the web at Siro.ai. Gabe Schiffer with Siro here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Martin here, head of sales at Siro.ai. We're the intelligence platform for in-person sales. In this video today, I'm going to talk through the number one thing our top customers are doing that our average customers are not. Just as a reminder, Siro.ai is a tool that records, transcribes, and analyzes in-person sales interactions. We capture a ton of data through this process, which powers coaching, peer-to-peer learning, and cross-sell rehash workflows. So when we onboard customers naturally tend towards their low performers, right? Once they have these recordings of what's happening in the field, they're very excited to understand, are people adhering to the process? And then once they're adhering to the process, are they executing the process effectively? This is very good, and this does drive great increases in total sales output. But one of the counterintuitive things we found is actually the highest leverage thing to do once you implement this technology is spend a disproportionate of time listening to your top performers, deconstructing what they're doing, and then actually disseminating those nuggets of gold to the rest of the team. Let me actually break down what this looked like for one of our top performing customers and how it led to better results. So there was a big restoration shop in the Southeast, and for them, they had one clear and away top performer. What they did once they started recording was they did listen to a lot of his interactions. What it turns out is that he was doing a relatively nuanced same-day closing technique that was above and beyond the process that they taught. Turns out that actually no one else knew that this tactic existed within their organization. So once they were able to codify what he was doing and why it was working better than his peers, they took that and in the next team meeting, they shared it to everyone. I know this sounds insane, but literally the next week, closing rates across the team went up 20% because they just never knew that this tactic existed. In summary, guys, absolutely still ensure that your low performers are starting to follow the process when you record. Ensure that you're diving into specific moments and coaching on the effectiveness of that process, but do not forget to spend time listening to your top performers and actually break down and deconstruct what's making them top performers. And if you can find one or two nuggets of gold, share those with the team and you're gonna get some quick wins right away.
Join us at the Rohrman Automotive Group with Brian Kramer, Ed Roberts, and Nick Ruffolo.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ains. Today we're going to talk about service vehicle acquisition, and Ted, a very hot topic in the industry.
It is. We're here at the Rohrman Automotive Group. Brian Kramer from Cars.com is with us. So grateful to him, and Ed Roberts for joining us. Gentlemen, thank you for being here today.
These are Adels.
All right. So first question, and Nick, I'm going to come to Brian on this one first. Brian, how are you seeing dealers turn the service drive into a true acquisition channel?
Well, obviously, everybody knows you got plenty of ROs, and it's easier to appraise the car when it's physically there than when it's not. A lot of people have an aversion to sight unseen appraisals, which that's a separate conversation. I don't think they should. But I think that there's a few things that have to go into it. A, you've got to be confident in your appraises. You got to know, that you're going to give a competitive, fair number. Shaving back on trays, under allowances on the service drive doesn't make a lot of sense. The max just doesn't math out in terms of how many more trades you can arrange. But I would say that what I find is that they've overcome a few different concerns and objections. One of them is, fixed ops director, service director, whoever it is, doesn't want a car that's coming through that they sold 3 or 4 lines of work, on ASRs, coming out of their job, and they're supposed to get excited about it. While a technician now that did the MPI is sitting on his toolbox, the ASM that sold the work is sitting there saying, what's going on? And all of a sudden that work is now going to the internal team, maybe one line, if at all, because it gets wholesaled. So I think that's the elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. And the way to fix it is really simple. And a lot of people will overcomplicate it, and they'll look at it like that, but there's a couple things that you got to be able to get sales and service to work on. It's got to be a dealer or GM decision, but here's how it should look. Whatever that, and I don't believe in spiffs for service and doing all that stuff because it gets out of control, especially when you're doing 150 plus acquisitions a month off the drive. It'll spiral out of control. So it's just as simple as this. Every single RO that does get acquired off the drive, there needs to be an 8-point person in the sales team that holds that RO open. They tell the fixed ops director, service director, hey, we fired these 5 vehicles today. Keep these ROs open. Now you're going to do the warranty work. you're going to do a service contract or whoever the extended warranty company is, you're going to capture it all still in the customer's name. But most importantly, that service manager is going to keep it open and take that internal ticket, and it's going to go back to the advisor instead of the work. It's going to go to the technician that did the inspection. They were going to get it all, and they're going to get it at the same rate, either retail or used cars, whichever's higher. And they're going to get all the work that was quoted every single time if the car is acquired. That way they're excited. That's the spiff. And that's how you fix it. And when as soon as you violate the trust on that happening, now all of a sudden your service department's not selling cars for you anymore. Now it's the way it used to be, which is not working.
You okay with all this?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I'm glad you opened it up that way because this is what we practice here within the groove. We don't take nothing away from the advisor. The advisor did their job. The technician did their job. Internally, we'll hand it accounting of court accordingly. So no one's taking a loss of any kind of safety way, right? Because they got it. It's like, right. So the technician that originally looked at the vehicle, he or she has it completes the repairs. The advisor still gets credit for what took place inside the service department. But more importantly, you can't miss this. We retained another customer, right? So when the service manager and the service team understands that, you know what, maybe this Debbie over here was to the border of getting rid of the car. What if she traded somewhere else? What if she went somewhere else, right? But we gave them a fair deal on the trade. We acquired a really good car to potentially even certify, put it back in our lot. The car's been maintained by us. And now we got a story to tell to our consumer that's purchasing them next.
Well, let's look at those different lens. Well, a customer trades the car in. Maybe there's something wrong with it. Maybe there's not. Maybe they've seen a car. But if there's something wrong with it, they're never going to tell us what's wrong with it. Having the issues with novel. And so they give us a cert for it. That's the repo. So now you guys,
I like that. Right?
All the elements of what's going on with this thing. And we could fix some of the former stuff, all that grouse. But it's truly dive as you'll kind of say, so through the things, but it's really they're finding out there these are so sure. Well, then you say, cool, our service when service drives, your fire vehicle is being serviced at the dealer, and the customers tell both from or told those on the right penny. So we have a better product, right? Not the fraud for a used target. And we'll be your car. Start that symbol right all the way out. So look at it for a couple of different lenses.
What's the average advertising cost for sale of those vehicles?
I don't have the accurate number on that. Zero. We spend hundreds of dollars.
Well, I'm saying on the service truck.
Yes. Yeah, the fire, zero. Yes. That's process. And we all are failed process.
Well, Brian, speaking of processes, what tools and best practices are you seeing that actually drive conversions, not just conversations?
Well, that's a really hot topic as well. There's a lot of people that will put hang tags in the cars, QR codes, things like that. Automated text messages, AccuTrade, we do automated text messaging now, but here's the reality. It's probably a lot of people don't like me talking about this, but I've never seen a dealership that acquires more than 0.5% of the total account that just sends blind text messages without a personal interaction where they're meeting them face to face. But the best practice that I've seen work best is, I'm obviously biased to AccuTrade, but that's what I did when I was in retail. And they acquired 150, 180 cars a month doing it that way. We appraised 15% of the ROs, the CP and warranty ROs aimed to the drive. And that's a lot harder than it sounds, just 15%. But having a meaningful conversation, and I look at it like the more cars you appraise, the more it's like presenting sales menus on internet appraisals. The more you present, the more you're going to sell, the more you appraise, the more you're going to acquire. But the biggest codal to that I see as a struggle around the country is empowerment, enablement, and trust. And that's something that I've seen at Bozar, something I see clearly at Warman. You don't have those ingredients, it makes it extremely difficult.
Another one too is, now you're leaning on, now we're talking from sales to service handoff, but now a service to sales handoff. So now you got an advisor that's built a report with a consumer that has now understood that, hey, the average car on the road right now is almost approaching 13 years old. The average mileage car is coming within our organization here underneath the watch of my stores in Illinois and Wisconsin is north of 78,000 miles. So, you get some prime merchandise that's coming in that still holds some nice value, that can still make a good CPO car. Now, we created a circle of life. It's a win in all ends. It really is. And, you laid it up pretty well right there, but it's getting the trust where there's not another employee from another department think that they're going to lose something.
Interest in your employees.
Yeah.
It was fascinating the way that we did it when I was in retail, walking from used car building to the new car building. And in the middle, the valets are doing a phenomenal job on MPIs. They're sticking the tires, they're checking the batteries, they're pulling the wiper blades, and they're doing all the things they're supposed to be doing. And I said, isn't that kind of crazy? Right? Great. Why will we trust our salespeople to do that? They do it really well, but we hold them accountable.
Right. Run it through my service lane. You'll get a Hunter alignment checkout, your tire readings, and I'll test your battery. I mean, that's most heavy foot in the installation series. Better than most, at least you might be reconditioning the vehicle. I mean, we're north of upwards of 12 to 14 grand out for recon. So I mean, there's an opportunity, money coming in, and I'll take internal business all day long. They're my best customer, so why not?
And Brian, I think collectively you've all answered this question. But I'll just come back to you to reinforce it. How do you align the service advisors and the sales teams around shared goals for the dealers watching current?
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with vendors selling and pitching too much and not slowing down for a second during the install. I always make sure that the service manager or service director is there and the controller. The controller has to be in charge of what the same day check parameters are. And if the service director or the service manager is not bought in, I mean, obviously this fixed ops roundtable, fixed ops isn't bought in. It doesn't really matter what you try to implement. Yes. You can say all you want. There's going to be artificial harmony, and it's not going to happen. And if you don't have, they're like the transmission that makes the machine go. And without them, you're just spinning your wheels. You might as well go focus on something else. You have to have their buy-in.
Incredible stuff, Ted. It's really amazing to just hear, again, how vehicle acquisition is taking a bigger chunk of opportunity into the dealership with service operations.
And Mick, thank you so much for letting us and our guests come in today and spend the day with you at Combat Via.
I loved having you guys here. My pleasure.
And what a great experience. And Brian, thank you so much. Sarah and I are here at the Roman Automotive booth in Schaumburg. We'll be right back.
No, thank you. And let me know how Buster reviews that new car seat in that back row.
Danny, you just hit your sales goal for the month, and with a 4.9 review rating on cars.com, how do you feel right now?
Man, I am so hyped right now. Anything is possible. Anything is possible!
You seem to just keep finding new ways of winning over customers. What do you attribute this success streak to?
My mom, for making me believe, my teammates, and Cars.com for giving me this platform and for putting me in a position to succeed on the VDP, and my customers for reviewing me there and for making me shine on the biggest stage and in front of millions of in-market shoppers. I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, this guy is special. We have the #1 reputation in our market. Let's go!
We've got your all-access path to integrity cost consulting in our next segment with Steve Thompson.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we will be talking about the Fixed Ops profit leak no one is measuring. And Ted, we've got quite the panel assembled with us this day.
We have two experts in the field, Sarah, great colleagues and friends of ours at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Steve Thompson is the president of Integrity Cost Consulting, helping dealers navigate these interesting waters that we're in here in the middle of 2026. Also coming to us from Florida, Marco Zwanenburg, one of the founding fathers of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, great colleague. Steve and Marco, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Yes, thank you, Ted. Thank you, Sarah.
Well, Ted, this is so exciting. We have some incredible questions to ask of our group today, but want to start the conversation with you, Steve, and just kind of set the stage for our audience. Most fixed ops leaders track labor and parts performance very closely, but where do you see the biggest blind spots today, and what areas that impact margin but don't get measured as closely?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sarah. So what we've seen in our work with dealerships is really three expenses that don't really get the attention they deserve, and basically these costs don't really spike, but they drift, and over years they become very very expensive and very high. And those are utilities, waste disposal, and commercial laundry. Those are 3 areas that we're seeing that they're just not big enough. They're not, like I said, they're not the inventory, they're not parts, right? They're not advertising, and they get rolled up into higher numbers, and they just don't receive the visibility. They might be managed, they're just not optimized or validated.
And Marco, as technician and thinking about this, across the shop, what other opportunities do you see as, some of those blind spots that, impact margin, but don't get measured that closely?
Well, to Steve's point, I think that a lot of business owners, a lot of dealership owners, just accept like uniforms, utility bills, etc., as just part of the game. They have no idea that it's actually manageable, or that there's different tiers to it or different measures. Another thing that you could implement is having a little bit more of employee awareness when it comes down to these expenses. Like, no one cares really about leaving the light on at work, right? Because you're not paying the bill. But at the end of the day, you are paying the bill because you're gobbling up that already really, really tight margin. Same with like leaving the water running where you're not supposed to. And especially like with the higher end dealerships, or the dealerships that offer car washes, make sure the car wash is done right before handover, not after the job is completed, because now you may have to wash the car twice if the car sits there for another week. So it's just awareness, both from the ownership perspective, and you can do something about these costs, and employee engagement into like, hey guys, turn the light off when you're done.
Marco, you've spent years in dealership. Sarah, yourself the same. Marco, I don't ever recall a dealership having a purchasing manager where there was that one person who just focused on this type of thing, Marco, and I think they rely on the managers to be able to navigate this. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's an excellent point, Ted, because that's exactly what it is. So much is getting pushed off on managers. And like Steve and I had a chat recently about this, that managers are just so overrun, and they are just not equipped to navigate these fields of waste disposal, and how many different options there are, what you have to adhere to, and what category, what tier you fall in. So having someone like Steve and his company on hand to help you guide through that and help you save costs, and like I already said, these tight margins that we run on, it could be over a year. You could save your company tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if you talk about multi-roof. It's definitely worth reaching out for. I'm not saying that the managers are bad, absolutely not, but they are just so incredibly busy, so overrun, that this is just something that, and you don't know what you don't know.
And Steve, you started this conversation here on the Fixed Ops Roundtable a while back, and now we're hearing a lot of people talking about, I got to address costs. And like Marco said, the managers are so busy. They don't have that one person who's looking at the contracts, reviewing them, looking at the invoices as they come each month, whatever it is, and cross-referencing them and keeping track if there's been any slippage, okay, if I may, in the pricing. And Steve, with so many competing and priorities, let's say in a dealership, how do you decide which expense areas are worth revisiting? You as that outside purchasing manager, if you will, and which ones are assumed to be good enough?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I also want to say something. What Marco said is that no one's doing anything wrong, right? It's just that they just don't know what they don't know. They don't know what's possible, and there's all these dealerships have great internal processes where the invoices coming in, they're being approved, they're being paid, but it's really they're not really being validated. So I think that's where you start. It's like, what costs, what expenses are we paying now that have never been validated, like truly validated, benchmarked, and those are typically it's the utilities, the waste disposal, the commercial laundry. What we've seen is what people or organizations try to reduce their costs by switching vendors. And it's like, you don't really have to, right? We don't even try to switch vendors. You don't have to switch vendors. You just have to know what the cost should be. And that's kind of the expertise we bring without spending a lot of their time. They don't really need a lot of time. And I had a conversation with the owner of a 14 rooftop dealership over the weekend. And he was saying, we just don't have the time. I said, I understand that. So here's what we've done. We've changed our approach. Instead of needing a bunch of expensive a bunch of invoices, what we've done is let's just pick one expense, one location, one invoice. Let's just validate that to see if there's anything, if we need to dig deeper. And I mean, that's a very light lift for any team, I would think.
Steve, a follow-up on this, I'm thinking about a lot of the multi-rooftop groups. And, we have a lot of dealer groups that are part of our audience today that have multiple rooftops and, executive leadership at maybe a corporate level that are thinking about, all of these expenses maybe from that enterprise type of setup. So, they have one process, one expense provider, and they just kind of roll it out across all of these stores. But the thing that really stands out is that there's bound to be really small inefficiencies that may not stand out at one store, but then compound across the portfolio. I'm curious to hear, what you see with that.
Yeah, exactly, Sarah. Yeah, these expenses they tend to be small, relatively small, per rooftop. But you go across multiple rooftops, it becomes very meaningful. Another conversation I had recently with a multi-rooftop operator, he's basically saying he gives every general manager the leisure, to the latitude to control their own expenses. They're not really taking advantage of, group savings. It's like, wow, that's significant opportunity there. I'm just thinking, we see this a lot where, let's pick on laundry again, where they have a master service agreement covering all locations. I mean, it's inevitable that we find that not every location is being charged the same price. It happens all the time, not just in car dealerships, throughout the every industry. So they definitely could benefit from taking a holistic approach, looking at it from the group level.
And Steve, I think the time to do that is now because variable is getting squeezed. There's no question about that. Fixed ops is the one that's, fixed. It's creating the revenue, service and parts. And, a lot of focus now on those expenses that may not have been there even just a few months ago, Steve.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I know if we're going to get into this, but I think these costs that we're talking about, utilities, waste disposal, commercial laundry, they're more complicated than they appear or that people believe. There's like, just if we look at just utilities, there are over 1,700 electric utility companies in the United States. So that means there's multiple electric companies even in every state, and they all bill differently. They all have 200, 400 page tariffs, which describes how they bill their customers. And there's multiple tariffs within each utility. So it's like, how do you know which one is right for you? I mean, and that's what we bring. That's what we bring to the table is that expertise. We know which one is best for you. And so, 1,700 utility companies across the country, that's a lot. So there's no way any dealership is going to have that kind of expertise of which one, what rate structure should we be on, like Marco said earlier. So I think that's the problem that we're having, is that a lot of people think that these are just, it is what it is, right? We'll get another vendor, we'll send out RFPs, whatever the case may be, but they're just they're being managed, like I said earlier, they're not being optimized, they're not being validated.
And like Marco said, Steve, everyone's pressed for time. The managers have a lot of things, a lot of pieces, a lot of moving parts they're keeping track of. And a lot of this now just, flies under the radar and it goes through. And, there's that time constraint, as I mentioned. And, this really is an opportunity for dealerships to save some money and to do it now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the time is always one of whether it's even expressed or it's a silent objection. They just don't have priority, right? They're working on the culture. Like Mark and I spoke last week about leadership and just the culture of the organization, inventory, there's a lot of pressure, so, and there's just so much time in a day, right? 24 hours, we all have the same amount of time in a day, and they just don't have the time, or they don't think they do. So going back to what I said before, I think we've changed our approach because we've listened to it, we've heard it, we understand. Because a lot of times people could say, oh, this doesn't cost any money because we're working on a performance basis. It doesn't cost, very little time. It's like, well, how much is little, right? Is it 4 hours? It's like, no, we just give us, let's just focus on one expense area, maybe one location, one contract, one invoice, and we can tell within 5 minutes if there's opportunities there.
Very well said, Steve. Marco, just coming back to you for a quick second with some of these expenses that Steve is describing. Where do you see opportunities to educate your team, educate dealership employees about some of the opportunities that they can be keeping an eye out for as they're thinking about all of these different expenses that may be flying under the radar?
Well, let's start with something very simple. How many uniforms are being serviced of employees that are no longer there? That happens so many times. So when they, in Steve's point, when they switch vendors because the costs are out of control, the costs go down. Why? Because every employee that is there gets matches for uniforms. So obviously there's less uniforms to be out to be serviced and be provided. So something as simple as just keep a head count. If someone either leaves or gets fired, make sure that they get taken off the roster. Another thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, get your employees aware of that, you may not pay the bill directly, but you are paying the bill. So if you don't have to use electricity or water, then don't, because at the end of the week, the day, the month, it does impact you. If you want a special tool or some equipment is broken in the shop or you want a raise, that money has to come from somewhere. So if we can save margins, and especially variable ops, they are so incredibly tight. Luckily, on the fixed up side, we do a lot better, but still a penny is a penny. And you got to honor that penny to make the dollar. So let's just be smart about this. I mean, the automotive industry is the only industry that I know that will literally spend a buck to save a penny. Well, why don't we save a penny to make a buck? Let's start doing it the other way around. So having someone with the information and the knowledge like Steve around to navigate these complex problems. It's like the manager doesn't do the taxes either from the dealership, right? They get sent off to a CPA, to a professional. So you don't bring a car to a bakery to get fixed, and you don't come to see me to do a root canal. You go to the appropriate people. So take advantage of what you have in front of you.
Okay, that would be Steve Thompson, everybody, from Integrity Cost Consulting. Very well said, Marco. Hey, Marco, about 2 weeks ago, you and Sarah and I were in a dealership together, and I was in the back bringing in some boxes in for that big event, and they were delivering the uniforms, okay, for the technicians. And Industrial Laundry was bringing them in and dropping them off, and they were all in the same place. And we actually had to move those uniforms, okay? And I couldn't believe how many uniforms. I mean, and that was a big shop, okay, right, Marco, but not the biggest shop, right? And I mean, there's a lot there. And, how do you keep track of all that and the expenses? And I imagine that goes on, many, many times, that delivery and the pickup and back and forth. And Marco, I think, as an example, Steve has talked about Industrial Laundry for a long time, but that really, as an example, impacts the dealership in a big, big way.
Oh yeah, think about it. Like every technician on average gets handed 12 sets of uniforms. That is 12 pairs of pants, 12 pairs of shirts, so keep track of that. But let's not just think about the uniforms. How about the fender covers? How about mop hats? How about the rags? How about all those items that we have? So here's another thing, for example, to bring it back to Sarah's point, how can we get our team on board? Well, rags, first of all, it's an OSHA violation. Shop rags do not belong in the trash. Put them in the correct receptacles to where they can be picked up by the company. So there's another cost-saving thing. But yes, you're right that the amount of industrial laundry that there is, and a lot of companies also utilize industrial laundry for the floor mats, for example, that they roll out in front of the parts counter. There is just so much more to it than just a uniform. So it's a very complex machine that happens every week. So keep an eye out on it.
Great points. As you're talking about uniforms, you mentioned all those items that just people don't realize how many items they're actually using. And talking about the uniforms in the 12 sets of pants and the 12 shirts. So these uniform companies have certain fees. So you're not just paying for the uniform of the shirt and the pants. You're paying for maintenance, inventory, automatic loss rate, right? So they're automatically they're going to build in a rate. Okay, we're going to lose 10%, whatever, 16%. It's like 16%. It's like, why does it have to be 16? Why, okay, there's going to be some loss. What is it? It should be 16, should be 3, 2, right? So we negotiate that. We know what the market, we know what's possible.
All right, Steve Thompson, everybody, he's your person. You don't need to hire anybody else, put additional headcount on. He specializes in this. This is what he does. He does the root canals, okay? And this is his business at Integrity Cost Consulting. He works with dealers. Everybody, if you would, pick up the phone. You see his phone number on the screen there. You can reach out to them on the web as well, Integrity Cost Consulting. And I see his email, steve@integritycostconsulting.com. As you heard, he doesn't need a lot of information to kind of get started. And Sarah, great time to start saving a few dollars in the dealership.
It is, Ted, and margins are more important than ever. Fixed operations continue to be the most important department in the dealership. And Steve, thank you for all your attention to helping dealers really maximize their margins.
It's our pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Great job, gentlemen. Marco, thank you for providing all the color and, to bring this all together. So as always, what would Marco do? So appreciate you, Marco, so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure, guys. My pleasure.
Everybody, Marco Zwanenburg, Steve Thompson here from Integrity Cost Consulting. Visit them on the web at integritycostconsulting.com. Here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Most businesses pay recurring expenses every month: utilities, telecom, waste services, industrial laundry, without knowing if every charge is accurate, if their service levels still make sense, or if they're paying more than they should. I'm Steve Thompson, founder of Integrity Cost Consulting. For over 30 years, I've worked in accounting and finance, and I've seen how complicated these expenses can be. Our team helps verify charges, identify refunds and savings, and support your existing process without changing vendors or disrupting your operations. We need very little from you to get started, and if we don't find savings or refunds, you don't pay us. You can calculate how much we can save you by using our hidden profit calculator by visiting integritycostconsulting.com.
There are a lot of competitors out there. What we're looking for, though, is the total package.
CDK is a proven solution. The support is ongoing, the development is ongoing, and for us, there is no other solution.
I really believe they know our business, they know the automotive space, and more they continue to be able to help us use the system the way we want to do business.
That relationship is really what this is all about. You don't have a relationship with software, you have a relationship with the individuals behind the software. That's what we're really comfortable with CDK.
Tools up and engines on. Welcome back to Fixed Ops Week, where we're fine-tuning the future of fixed operations.
Learn why Alpha Drive AI is the omnichannel AI for automotive in our next segment.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have Alpha Drive AI and Andrew Lee with us. And Ted, exciting conversations about what Alpha Drive is doing for the automotive industry.
Sarah, it's an exciting time. You're so right in our industry. We are really humbled to have Andrew Lee, the sales VP at Alpha Drive AI. Andrew, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Awesome, man. Hey, guys, I'm super excited to be here today. And before I go through anything, want to celebrate you all. You guys are doing an amazing job with this podcast and the way you guys have shown up on social and the authority piece, but doing it from an educational standpoint. So I'm excited to be a part of a group like this. And it's been great. Every interaction, your team is super professional. So love connecting with you all. You guys are one of the best.
Oh, Andrew, that means a lot. Thank you so much. Great to see you in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
just a few months ago, and love all the interviews that you did with us and with our team. And we're following you on social media as well. Congratulations on all the video content, the interviews you're doing, and you're all over the place too. So we love that. So
Oh, awesome, man. Well, you set the bar pretty high, so I'm just trying to follow behind you guys' lead.
well, Sarah and I have some questions this morning, starting with the fact that Alpha Drive AI did not start out as a tech company. I want you to tell our audience about that because you've spent 30 years operating a live business development center in dealership, actually in store. And how did that shape you, Andrew? And how did that shape all this for AI? And why do you see it as a tool to execute the work rather than just another piece of tech?
Yeah, no, I mean that's an excellent question, and the company actually started off as a company, DGA Auto. It's been around since 1993, and really funny story. And Nick, who's not here today, our CEO, was born and raised pretty much in the company. Why? Because it was started actually by his mother as a CSI follow up company. So back in 1993, she was working in an automotive dealership, saw there was an opportunity to figure out if customers were happy because she was trying to sell aftermarket parts and things of that nature. So she had to follow up, and the dealers were actually having her call and reach out. She's found out, hey, I don't just need to sell anything, but there's problems we need to solve, and we can bring these customers back in. So when that took off, she said, "Hey man, I can do this for other dealers," and it blew up and it expanded. So we like to say we're kind of one of the first virtual BDCs out there. Prior to using AI as a tool, now we've been helping over 1,000 plus dealerships since 1993. I came aboard maybe 5 to 6 years ago under their tutelage. So all of my background before we go into anything AI focused is really about the customer experience and the dealership experience and figuring out how to run a real good BDC to bring those customers back in and grow the business.
Sarah, they really understand this space. That's super important for what we do.
Yeah.
It is. And Andrew, business development centers, that's a challenge that a lot of dealerships struggle with because, the elements that we see, dealerships, they may lose most opportunities today when it comes to the inbound phone calls that are coming into their stores and outbound follow-ups. But where specifically do you see dealerships losing the most of those opportunities?
Yeah, so great question. And so as we ran the live call center again since 1993, a few years back, we realized there is one challenge with the traditional BDC. It's somewhat broken. Why? Because let's be very transparent. It's expensive to have staff just there to answer phones, right? Also, with call out sick turnover, it's very hard to manage that. There's a lot of experience gaps in the associates. And then no matter how hard you try to staff it, you can't provide 24-hour coverage. And so we were looking for a solution that said, hey, how can we help dealers out with this and really take it to the next level? And so the reason why we were in business with the dealers to start was at core, they did realize there's one big opportunity. I'm missing a lot of business through phone calls. When you're missing those phone calls, every phone call you miss is a potential new customer, RO, and things of that nature. So when we found that dealers were missing about an average 15 to 30% of the calls, and that's why they were bringing us on with the live call center. Well, unfortunately, not the live call center couldn't get to 100% of those either. And so when that gap happened, even though we were providing support, we needed to be able to take it to the next level because every phone call matters. And so for us, that's where AI has come in because the biggest gap still to this day, if you don't have a BDC, if your advisors answer phone calls, you're missing those opportunities. The second gap is dealers aren't bringing business back in on the outbound side. They don't have true managed solutions. And again, this stuff is really hard. It's really hard to do. It's really difficult to manage. And so as we converted into Alpha Drive AI, utilizing the best AI tools, we were able to combine the best of both worlds to help dealerships grow.
I love that. In addition to the dealership background, Sarah and I also view you at Alpha Drive AI as our AI resident expert for fixed ops. So I got to ask you this question with that in mind. What are you seeing in the current AI landscape, and where are solutions that are out there falling short for dealerships today from what you see?
Yeah, great question. In the AI landscape, so again, I'll go back to experience. Number one, so if you're going into an AI solution and you're working with a company that doesn't have experience in your space, what you're going to get is an out of the box solution that may not fit what you need. And then number two, and this is where I think is really key. So when you add on AI, you're not really looking to bring in AI to give you another job. You should find AI to complete the job, you know? And so when we look at AI solutions, and especially with Alpha Drive, our number one goal is to free up your team, right? So as our AI solution is answering inbound phone calls for you or doing outbound calls, we try to minimize the amount of work that your team has to do with that process so you can actually focus on the customers that are coming in and you can focus on the new business because that's how you grow the tickets. You grow it through trust. You grow it through actually FaceTime with the customers. And so, many AI solutions, they make you have to learn a new dashboard or work to their rules or figure out how to learn a whole new ball game. Well, with us, we make it very seamless. We integrate. It's like you just hired a new employee who's the best BDC agent out there. And so that's the key. Like it has to feel not like you added on something that created work for you. You added on something that frees you up to do more with your customers.
Love that.
And Andrew, I'm glad you touched on those pieces with, delivering more to your customers and having those better experiences. One of the challenges that dealerships often face when it comes to, their BDC team or managing the communications that are going to their customers, there's oftentimes inconsistencies where there's that balance where people want to, have more of an automated and more of a streamlined experience, but they don't want to sacrifice the human elements either. They want to have those high touch, hospitality driven interactions. So how should dealerships think about balancing AI with their existing team to improve performance without losing the human touch?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And for us, that took maybe about 4 to 5 years. We've been on this AI journey where we wanted to answer that exact question, right? We never wanted the dealership. Listen, we know with AI solutions, and everybody hears about this. Oh, it's going to cut jobs. It's going to cost, cut down a lot of costs, and people feel worried. Well, in our opinion, we actually truly believe that the AI should improve the customer experience. And quite frankly, you don't even necessarily have to reduce your staffing because now there's more opportunities for them to do better service, more quality time. Actually, again, especially when you're in that service lane, when those customers are coming into the lane, and if you're trying to answer phone calls and trying to, pretty much juggle multiple things, you're not building that trust. You're not building that relationship. So for us, we are keen on when you interact with our AI, we don't want you to get off that phone and say, I need a human. I need somebody in the drive. We designed the AI to literally replicate the best BDC agent out there. The knowledge is going to be super efficient. It's going to be faster. We cut down the call time in half. So anytime someone calls in, they want to schedule an appointment, it doesn't take 10 minutes to look up their account. In under 2 minutes, they can get an appointment. They can get a basic diagnosis as if you were talking to an experienced advisor. These are all key elements that make that experience for the customer feel very complete. And again, leave the service drive alone. And then also, this is another key element to AI is that integrations are key so that you want to push information into the system the way you would normally do it without having to use AI. So when they see those repair orders, they see the notes the same way, they see the information, so it doesn't cause extra work. So we put a lot of time into that, a lot of time into figuring out, like, how do we make this feel like you hired someone, but they work 24/7, half a fraction of the cost, and can do the work of an entire team. And that's our goal.
Sarah, I think back to when you were running the service BDC for that 3 dealer group in North Carolina. Just imagine if you had Alpha Drive AI, how much more effective, your entire team would be.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Ted, and Andrew, just to give you the perspective, I mean, it was a 3 rooftop group. In the peak of those days, it was 40,000 phone calls in and out for that team. So you're talking high touch communication, status updates, appointment calls,
Mhm.
pricing inquiries, all of these things. And Andrew, you're so right. It's really challenging when you are managing that kind of volume at scale. And you're right. There's so many opportunities that if it's outside business hours, those customers still need assistance, or they need to understand what their options are. If their car breaks down, they're worried about how they're going to get to work the next day. They're worried about getting the vehicle towed in. They're worried about all these other elements. And there's pieces that having this kind of service that Alpha Drive AI provides dealerships, it solves for so many of those round the clock pieces when it's convenient for the customer.
Yeah, 100%. And BDC managers actually love us. And the reason why is if you're running a team with that many calls over that many dealerships, I'm sure the training, the turnover, the staffing was a bit of a nightmare at times too. And so having a solution that you don't have to retrain every time, once a quarter as you get on new people, worry about it calling out sick or worrying about the way you want the call handled, not following the script properly. These are all things that, again, we've looked for our entire career managing the live BDC team. And we said, hey, man, we want to make that easy. We want to make it so that that's not the issue anymore. And then imagine your best people now being freed up to actually do the more meaningful work and touch those VIP customers, for example, or the ones you want to reach out to and really try to drive in more business. So we take a lot of that, routine work off your plate. And that's kind of our key.
We're speaking today to Andrew Lee. He's the sales VP at a company called Alpha Drive AI. And one of the great things about Alpha Drive is that they're squarely in the dealership BDC business, over 30 years, and having done that in operating BDCs. Andrew, I want to follow up with another question. For the dealers watching today, when AI is implemented correctly, what kind of operational improvements should a dealer expect to see?
Yeah, a great question. And again, I'll speak from the BDC side of things. So number one, 100% phone calls answered, right? And as small as that sounds, the first touch point of the customer typically to your dealership is that phone call. And so you want to start CSI right away. You want to make sure that they can always reach someone. So you should be able to, your customers, if you add in an AI solution, should feel like, wow, you just elevated up, right? So that's number one. The second thing that you should see, so imagine now you don't miss a phone call, you should see a growth in RO counts and dollars per RO. Those two areas. That's what we measure. We range anywhere from 8 to 20% depending on the dealer and how much focus. But you should see a huge lift because, again, current state, you're missing more than you know. And so those customers who would have went down the street are no longer going down the street because at the end of the day, you're now capturing everything. And then last but not least, there should be some savings. There will be. And as you reduce activities, you're definitely able to maximize the amount of efficiencies. So adding on AI, and again, and when I say savings, in our case, we're about 42% less expensive than a traditional BDC team. So we're able to bring down the cost savings, but we're providing the work of a full-fledged team. So those are kind of your big levers that you want to see improvement on.
Everybody, Andrew Lee with Alpha Drive AI, helping many dealers all across North America with fixed operations with great success. Here at the Roundtable, some of our customers already have begun taking advantage of what Alpha Drive AI does. I think to our good friend, Damon Egan at Sherwood Ford, the largest Ford dealer in Western Canada, maybe all of Canada. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a giant dealership. It was so great to see Damon with Andrew, Sarah, on our panel at NADA and have Damon saying how this is what really got his attention And when he gets behind something, that's no small thing. That means it's really, really good because Damon's one of the best in the industry.
He absolutely is. And he actually is, again, one of our biggest supporters. Back in over a year, almost a year and a half now, we've been working with him. And he has some amazing numbers. He's seen as high as 20% RO growth. But the other piece is his BDC team, their dollars per RO has gone up because now when the calls do come to them, that fraction of the team, they have a lot of time to work with them. So he's seen improvement in both areas. And, anytime he has a chance, he's sending us people talking about it because it's really helped their business. So love having Damon a part of the Alpha Drive family. He's amazing.
And Damon's been a part of our family for no less than 6 years, maybe 7 years, Sarah. And already great testimonials at the Fixed Ops Roundtable for Alpha Drive AI. Andrew, if our audience wants to reach out, has questions about how this will work for them, how do they take that next step? How do they find out more about Alpha Drive?
Yeah, absolutely. One step you can go, our website is amazing. So you can go to alphadriveai.com. It'll show you, kind of walk you through what we do, how we've been able to help multiple dealerships. You could directly reach out to me at andrew.lee@alphadriveai.com. You can always give me a call also. My cell phone, you can call me at 239-237-7730. You can call or text. Just like our AI, man, we have multiple touch points. We're available. We're ready to reply. And we're just looking forward to getting in front of more dealers. We're already in about 350 plus, which is super amazing. We're working with the biggest groups out there, Lithia, some other ones that you all are pretty much familiar with. So big name, but a big game for us because we know, hey, man, if you're trusting us with your BDC, we're going to take care of your customers just like they're ours because you're our customer, and those customers, we want them to come back and be super loyal to you. So we want to give them an amazing experience.
Andrew Lee at Alpha Drive AI. Andrew, where's Nick today? Nick was with you last time.
Great question. One of the things with our AI solution, we're kind of crossing over to different lanes. So we've been reached out to. We're actually working with a couple hotels, the JW Marriott, one hotel. And these are hotels down in Miami area, if you're familiar with the South Florida arena. And so, it's been big because Automotive is very aggressive and first movers to a lot of this stuff. And so like the hotel side of things, they're seeing what we're doing, reaching out to us and saying, hey, look, we want to learn. We want to see how we can service our customers better. So I'm excited. So he's down there with a couple of the hotels. Now, he says it's work related, so I'm trying to figure that out. For some reason, haven't been able to reach him in a couple of days. So hopefully he gets back in touch soon.
Well, Andrew, those companies give customers the best experience. Some of the names you mentioned are at the very top. All right. So if you're at a dealership looking to provide that level of experience with dealership knowledge and know-how, Andrew Lee is your man to reach out to. Alpha Drive AI. You see his cell phone at the bottom. It says call or text. I'm assuming we can do that, and his email there as well, Andrew. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And totally appreciate you guys having me on. You guys are the best of the best. So we definitely want to continue to be associated with the best. You guys are educating, teaching, and really, letting dealers know what to look for when it comes down to these type of solutions. So we truly appreciate the opportunity to work with you all.
Everybody, Alpha Drive AI. Visit them on the web, alphadriveai.com. Andrew Lee, his email and cell scrolling in the screen. Andrew Lee from Alpha Drive AI here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, Nick Lawrenson, CEO of Alpha Drive. If you're looking for AI at your service department, here's the truth. Not all BDC AI is built to complete the job. A lot of solutions out there only handle a fraction of the calls and then transfer them back to your internal staff, defeating the purpose of you having AI in the first place. If you want good AI, as you're doing your research to find the perfect AI company, look for a company that has a high appointment conversion. At least 55% of your calls should be converted into appointment. Look for a company that has a high first call resolution and isn't transferring all the calls back to you. You want less than a 25% transfer rate back to your dealership. And third, look for a company that has a high customer satisfaction, and the AI should be grading that for you. If you want all three of those things and you want to stop your search right now, contact Alpha Drive AI today, alphadriveai.com. Look forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Alpha Drive AI panel. And Ted, lots of exciting conversations with Alpha Drive today.
Alpha Drive AI is driving the conversation. Before we get started, I would like the folks up here to introduce themselves, starting with my good friend Damon Egan here.
I am Damon Egan, Service Director at Sherwood Ford in Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada.
I'm Nick Lawrenson, CEO of Alpha Drive.
Andrew Lee, Vice President of Sales at Alpha Drive.
All right. Well, Nick and Andrew, I don't know how you did it, but you got Damon involved with Alpha Drive AI. So congratulations to you. Damon is one of the biggest names in the industry. Before we come to him, Nick, give us an overview, what's happening in Alpha Drive AI and what you see ahead for 2026.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ted. So Alpha Drive AI for 2026, our main focus is really growing Alpha Drive AI in the industry. What we're seeing is massive adoption in the industry. We're seeing dealers go from the traditional BDC model over to an AI BDC model, and it's been very, very successful. Our focus, keeping the appointment conversion rate as high as possible, keeping the first call resolution as high as possible, so the AI is doing the job, not always requiring a human to intervene.
Andrew, is this all true?
Yes. and I would only echo that because Nick has been doing it with live call center agents for 30 years, and he holds us to the same standards that he did to the live call center agents. So it's been a perfect marriage for us.
Damon, tell us how you all got together with Sherwood Ford.
Well, we got in contact with Alpha Drive about a year and a bit ago. We found that they had the best language model in the business for getting appointments and actually speaking to customers in a proper tone. That was a big thing, is with any time with AI, there's always that lag, and we found it to be very natural conversation. It took a little bit of time to get it really to where we wanted, but the team at Alpha Drive was so good in helping us with resolution, and we saw a 25% spike in appointments.
And David, you don't get behind just anything. You and I have known each other for a number of years. This is really industry-leading technology that Alpha Drive has.
We were the first in Canada to bring it to life, and we have been so happy with it. I will trumpet from the mountains for these guys. Yeah.
Nick, I want to come back to what Damon just talked about with the language model, because our listeners today, there's a lot of conversations around AI, but specifically that piece of it. Why is that so important in the AI conversations that your system is having?
Yeah, so first of all, the large language model, we're not going to out Google. We're relying on large language model technology to carry the conversation. And then what we do is we cascade over multiple large language models, and we have a system built out where it stores all the dealership's information to feed into the AI. So what the end result is an AI that sounds human, acts human, very minimal latency, can answer all the questions about a dealership, knows all the shop loading rules. And so that's why it's so important to have that.
And Damon, to take the conversation back into BDC, a lot of customers, that first impression of who they're talking to on the phone really sets the tone. This could be the first interaction that they're having with your business. So how important has this been in the conversation?
Oh, it was a very big concern at the beginning, and Andrew and I had a number of conversations about what it was going to look like and how it was going to be. And we found that there was a lot of early adoption from our customers about this. We found that, they really took to it. It handled flawlessly any questions. And when there was a concern, it automatically would just transfer to a BDC agent, and it allowed them to do their job better than if they were just stockpiling phone call after phone call. They could actually take the time and handle the phone call properly. And we've seen such a huge rise, not only in appointments, but also in revenue.
And Andrew, what he's describing with these pieces, early in the conversation, I'm sure a lot of dealerships voiced some concerns with, abandon rate, different elements that are getting them started in the conversation. What pieces are really important for dealerships to be considering as they implement Alpha Drive AI?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. So the biggest thing is that for dealers, work with a company that really understands BDC work, right? Because at the end of the day, our only job is to convert an appointment for you or to handle that question of the customer and drive them into your service drive, right? So if that's not happening in these conversations, there's an error somewhere. There's a gap somewhere. And I really love our relationship with Damon because we were meeting weekly in the beginning and he brought up his concerns. We brought up our expertise and we meshed it together to create the formula that is absolutely phenomenal for his team today. But it doesn't come out of the box. It's extreme customization. Any AI solution you get, if it's coming out of the box and you're not getting support, I'm going to be honest with you, it's probably not the right one for you because you got to work with people that know how to do the work and that's willing to support the AI.
On that note, Nick, I want to come back to you. You and I recently had a conversation with Ed Roberts, good friend of yours, and Tully Williams, and you told us about customizing and tailoring the AI to the dealerships, and that's a big part of what Alpha Drive AI does. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about that.
So the objective of AI is to schedule appointments. Dealers are going to have specialized policies for things like express and main shop, recalls, transportation options. And as an AI company, we're willing to build we're willing to customize all of those things to keep the appointment conversion as high as possible, not relying on having to transfer to get those appointments scheduled. So we allow them to customize how they want us to handle express, customize how they want to handle recall. And that's what makes our product special.
Damon, you want to chime in on that?
Absolutely. And I get to tell you from personal experience, the customization that we have with Alpha Drive is absolutely insane. I mean, we do 500 to 600 pickup and drop off valleys a month. Plus we have a mobile service. Plus we have a fleet service. Plus we have a retail service. And Alpha Drive's system works flawlessly for all of it. I mean, that's a huge benefit because now we've got such a huge uptake. The amount of the appointment, the complexity and the completeness of it, unmatched.
Andrew, you got a great spokesperson right here with Damon Egan. I'm just phenomenal at Sherwood Ford. And he has made a lot of things work there in his marketplace. And when he gets behind it, he gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we've had to earn that relationship with you because he's not easy out the box. I mean, as he should be. Those are his customers. That's their revenue. He had the number one. He said, we can't hurt the customer experience. And we had the same goals in mind. And that's how we got to where we're at today with this product. And the other beautiful thing is he didn't even have to replace his BDC. What he did was he freed them up to do quality work. And now they're making more money for your dealership, correct?
Absolutely. We saw a huge rise in what our BDC team does. In fact, last month we had one BDC agent actually accumulate $140,000 in appointment revenue. That's huge dollars for one BDC agent. And that's because her time is freed up now because we have a phone system that actually works.
All right. Well, Nick, these gentlemen do all the talking and selling and they make it easy. You can see
they do.
already.
They do. Damon's recommendations and referrals have been just amazing. We work with over 30 Canadian dealers now, and most of those referrals are direct referrals from Damon.
All right. If our audience wants to learn more, Nick, about Alpha Drive AI, because you are now the leader, in this category, what's the best way for the audience to reach out and find out more?
Absolutely. Just go to www.alphadriveai.com. There you'll have an opportunity to schedule a demo with one of our sales associates, and we'll take good care of you.
Andrew, Nick, Damon, thank you so much for your time today. Sarah, it's been amazing to learn about Alpha Drive AI.
It has, Ted, and I'm excited to hear more as we go ahead into 2026.
That's right. Thank you. Sarah and I are here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we are going to be right back.
Turn talent into a fixed ops advantage with the Go Trego panel up next.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can turn talent into fixed ops advantage. Today, we're joined by Anthony Pantaleone, Sales VP, and Cobi Collins, Client Experience VP from Go Trego. And for our audience listening today, Go Trego provides job fit and employee assessment data that helps fixed ops leaders turn people decisions into their competitive advantage. Hire better, lead stronger, and drive results. Anthony and Cobi, it's great to have you on today.
Great
to be here.
Thank you so much, Ted and Sarah. We love being here.
Cobi and Anthony, Go Trego does such a great job in our industry. Congratulations. And what a time. We were talking about it in the green room to be in our industry. And with that, let's kind of turn to some of the things that our industry is facing and has for some time, Cobi, the problem retail automotive turnover.
Yeah, Ted and Sarah and everyone listening, we really know we are at a pivotal moment in the auto industry. Technology is evolving, but the real differentiator that you all know, it has not changed. People. The data makes that very clear. So turnover in automotive retail is now, are y'all ready for this? Like, seriously, hang on to your steering wheels. It's a $20 billion per year problem. Billion. And we've learned so much over the last few months. And even according to the 2025 NADA dealership workforce study, based on over 250,000 payroll records, turnover has increased for 3 consecutive years. Like, what is going on? We're seeing 39 to 46% turnover across all roles, and in sales as high as 126%. I was blown away by some of these numbers, and so we really started digging in. And when you layer the fact that turnover costs roughly 50% of an employee's annual salary, this becomes very real, very fast for dealers. So it's not just an HR issue anymore. This is a financial and operational challenge that directly impacts performance, right, Anthony?
Yeah, absolutely, Cobi. I mean, these numbers are staggering. And what's changed in our approach is we no longer look at hiring as filling roles. We look at it as a driver of economic value. Great businesses don't leave things to chance. And when you can quantify behaviors and connect it to performance outcomes, something really powerful happens. First, success leaves clues. Second, a process is created. And then lastly, results become repeatable. That's how you begin to reverse these trends that we're seeing across the industry.
I love that statement, Anthony, that success leaves clues. And what we're seeing with our clients is that very shift from guessing about people to actually knowing. So no more guesswork. Y'all can rest easy at night. When leaders start using objective data to make these hiring and development decisions, things begin to stabilize. We're all looking for that. Prediction, stability, because we've got to know what's coming down the pipeline. And so you see more consistency in performance, you see better retention, and a lot more confidence in the decisions that they're making day to day. I know this industry has accepted high turnover as normal. We are here to tell you that is a choice. You can say no to that choice, and we can help you do that.
Cobi, it's staggering to hear this data regarding turnover. And Anthony, what's behind and what's driving these turnover numbers?
Well, Sarah, at a high level, this comes down to one thing. Hiring methods haven't evolved. And most dealerships are still relying on resumes, and now ChatGPT resumes and gut feel, which are really poor predictors of performance. One of the most important principles in building great businesses is this: systems, not smiles. In our world, that translates to you can't rely on instinct alone and expect consistent results. And when you're seeing turnover at 40% plus across the board and over 100% in sales, it tells you we're not selecting people based on what actually drives success in the role. And this goes back to something that Carl Sewell said. He asked a simple question: how good do you want to be? Because before process, before technology, you have to decide to get better. And you simply can't build an above average business with average employees. And that's exactly
what led Sewell to work with Dr. Trego. I mean, they went from hiring a top performer 1 out of 4 times to 1 out of 2. So they doubled their odds. And when you combine that with the fact that each turnover event costs about 50% of salary, you're not just losing people, you're losing real dollars, real margin, and real momentum. And in my view, the biggest hidden cost, Ted and Sarah, isn't even the turnover. It's the missed economic value of not hiring top performers in the first place.
Man, that really shows up every day in the dealership, right? Leaders are constantly in a cycle of rehiring, retraining, trying to get people up to speed again. It creates this overall fatigue in the organization, and teams never really reach their full productivity. I know this drives GMs crazy because they're doing everything they know to do, and there's this one piece missing. So it's not just a cost issue like we talked about before. It's consistency and performance that compounds over time, right? The undeniable compound effect. It's found in interest, investments, and people strategy.
So Cobi and Anthony, that consistency speaks to fixed ops, fixed operations. Cobi, can you walk us through a real fixed ops, fixed operations example?
Okay, well, yeah, oh my goodness, we've got so many, right, Anthony? Oh my gosh. But most recently, all right, so this is a good one. Most recently, we worked with a dealership group that was really focused specifically on improving service advisor performance, which is one of the most impactful roles in fixed operations. They assessed 40 advisors. Remember, this is one dealer group. They assessed 40 advisors. They tracked their performance over a full year, measured repair orders, and total revenue. What they found was a very strong correlation between behavioral traits and actual performance. I know so often we focus on hard skills, but soft skills, our behavior, are what drive our approach to work. And so we can understand those hard skills better. They gave them something they didn't have before: predictability. So that information gave them that data. They could then start identifying who was likely to perform before making the hire. We all find out afterwards. Our goal is to help you find out beforehand and avoid the mishire. So that way we don't have to find out after the fact. But here's where it gets really exciting. Anthony, will you do me a favor and take us through those hard numbers?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Cobi. So, this is where the shift really happens from being a basic hiring conversation to a critical business conversation. Top performers don't just perform a little better, they create significantly more economic value. And this ties directly back to a core business principle. Every customer interaction has lifetime value. And in fixed ops, every hire has lifetime value too. So we're seeing top advisors generate about 135 more repair orders per month. Now, if you translate that into dollars, Ted, I mean, the average repair order is roughly $350, and that's probably very conservative. And I just went in and had a battery changed, and I was like at over 3. So typically gross profit is about 55%. So you're probably looking at about $190 per repair order in terms of gross profit. So get this, that means per advisor, you're looking at roughly $26,000 more gross profit per month. So if we calculate that out over 12, that's over $300,000 per year per advisor. So I'm sure the math is going on in your head right now. If you scale this out over multiple advisors, what does that mean to your business? And this isn't a marginal improvement. This is a massive revenue and profit swing tied directly to who you hire. So yes, we help reduce turnover costs, but the real opportunity is upgrading the lifetime economic output of every hire.
Anthony, this is so fascinating. So this really, the data that you have available that Go Trego it has collected, this is really about business performance.
Oh, absolutely, Sarah. I mean, Jack Welch said it best: strategy, execution, and people go together. Most organizations focus heavily on strategy.
Right.
They're challenged by the people and the execution parts. But people are the multiplier behind both. And if you look at the best dealerships, this is where they separate themselves. They've made excellence repeatable. And that's what the really best operators do. And the biggest difference I see between average and top performing stores isn't effort, because everybody rolls their sleeves up and works hard. Get this, it's precision. Precision in who they hire, precision in how they coach, and precision in how they align people to roles. So once you quantify what used to be gut feel, performance becomes repeatable. And when you get the right people, performance will improve, turnover will decrease, and revenue will accelerate. And that's how you create true competitive advantage.
Man, Anthony, I love that you referred to Jack Welch. I think I quote him more often than anyone else. And he also reminds us that the game is won or lost before it starts based on the team you field. The team that fields the best players wins, period. And what we see with high performing dealerships is they understand and they own this opportunity to win. They don't sit around going, I think I'm pretty good. They actually know. They use data, they know, and they own the opportunity to win. They're not just trying to fix problems. They're building systems that create, I'm going to say it again, consistency, predictability. And when that happens, everything starts to stabilize and scale.
So, Cobi, let's come back to the culture conversation. How does this impact the culture?
So our approach to growing healthy organizational culture is really more holistic. We don't just talk about straight culture. We look at the entire organization, top down, side to side. And we're not just focused on hiring. We're really working with leadership teams, because culture doesn't change from the bottom up. It changes through how leaders show up every day. I'm very passionate about this statement. That's why I'm pausing. There's really no excuse anymore for weak or ineffective leadership. We have too many resources. It's too easy to implement, and people can actually become great people leaders, even if it's not just natural for them. They can grow into that. And whether you know it or not, like it or not, the leader's job is to show up every single day ready to draw out the best in their people through strategy. It's intentional. It's not hard. It doesn't have to take a bunch of time. It just takes a little bit more awareness. So no more guesswork and crossed fingers, right, Anthony?
Oh yeah. And that's supported by research too, Cobi. McKinsey has found that personal development in leaders is the most powerful driver of culture change. So that's why we focus on looking at this holistically. So we help leaders build self-awareness, because it begins with self. We have to help them improve how they coach others so it can be impactful. And we help them align their behavior with the business strategy, which in this industry, it's all about customer intimacy. That's what creates a culture where people not only stay, but they perform.
Anthony, coming back into the culture conversation, Ted and I are fortunate at the Roundtable. We have a lot of very high performing dealership groups, and a lot of them are thinking about culture and have already some type of process or personality testing, in place when they're looking at their new hires or evaluating their team. So Anthony, what about dealerships who do already have some type of process like this in place?
Well, Sarah, I love hearing that. It tells me they're already thinking the right way, and that hiring matters, culture matters. But here's the difference, and it reminds me of something our good friend Marco told me about the importance of diagnostic scan tools. So shout out to Marco. He told me, Anthony, you can go on Amazon and you can buy like a scan tool for $20, or you can use an OEM scanner for like $15,000. Both give you information, but which one gives you better accuracy, a faster diagnosis, less wasted time, and a better customer experience? It's the same idea here. There are a lot of assessment tools that give you insight into people, but when hiring decisions impact turnover, performance, and revenue, precision matters. And at this level, it's not about going from bad to good. It's about that 1 millimeter shift that drives more precision, more consistency, and more top performers. It's the difference between getting on the target and consistently hitting that bullseye. So there are a lot of imitations out there, but at the end of the day, we're the ultimate driving machine in this space, and there's no substitute.
There is no substitute. Is that what you just said, Anthony? Yeah. So did you guys catch that? Right? I call it a truth bomb, I think. There's no substitute. And the dealerships that really excel are the ones who are always looking for that edge, just that edge. Now, many of you know, and some of you don't, but I come from a racing family, a racing background of pro racers. And that 1 millimeter shift in work performance is like that 10-degree steering wheel offset in the IndyCar oval racing. It reduces the steering effort required for control and endurance, and it optimizes their left turn ability and lets them get to the inside faster. They're not satisfied with good enough, but are you? Do you know if you are? Have you gotten complacent and didn't mean to? Our top performing dealers really want consistency and predictability. We're going to keep saying it, right? This is a theme, and so we keep repeating it.
I mean,
go ahead.
I was going to say, and building on that, I mean, this comes down to the quality of information you're using to stack and scale better decisions. I mean, Sewell moved from 1 out of 4 to 1 out of 2. Today, the opportunity is even greater because when you take a more complete approach to hiring, coaching, and leadership self-awareness, you can improve these odds even more. So now, Ted and Sarah, think about this for a second. If every hiring manager in a store makes just one better hire this week and next week and throughout the year, what does that do to a business?
Yeah.
And now if you stack better coaching into the rhythm of work every day, every week, what does that do to performance and retention? And one more, if every leader builds self-awareness in terms of how they lead, how they communicate, how they motivate, what does that do to culture? So this is really about skill set. It's about getting 1% better every day as a people, as an people, and as a motivator. Because that's what great operators do. They don't guess their way to performance. And they don't rely on $20 scan tools to get there.
Yep. Big shout out to Marco. So, Cobi, why does this approach really work?
Well, our goal is to not just hand you a tool and say, good luck, we hope it works, but to be a business partner with our clients. And it really comes down to that effective implementation. A lot of solutions in this space fail not because they're bad ideas, but because they never actually become part of how the dealership operates day to day. They end up as shelfware. What we do differently is focus on making this simple, really practical, and usable from the start. That's one of the comments we get the most is, wow, this is the most easily applied, most practical tool that I can do something with time and time again. I can use this information over and over. And with this commitment to implementation, business improvement happens quicker. So getting adoption across the team is so critical. And that's our most successful dealerships. Those who are just making huge differences and have culture that is attracting top performers naturally. Those are the ones that said, hey, we're going to go all in, not just putting our toe in the water, but we're going all in. And Dr. Trego, the psychologist and developer of our assessment suite and the name behind our company, Go Trego, he's really been a pioneer in the industrial and organizational psychology space. He created and validated the most practical tool that accurately matches people to jobs in the automotive industry. Ours is the only tool that was built with, in, and for this industry specifically. And he took out all of the psychobabble in the reporting. So there's no need for interpretation or certifications, but we put the power directly in the hands of the hiring leaders to speed quality decision-making. I know sales managers like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for one more step. Techs, the best techs, they're not going to spend the time doing this. Well, we interviewed the top techs and they said, yes, we will. So we know that is not actually reality. It's just a biased belief that we've created ourselves. And we're trying to remove that thought to help you really get to high performance. So we work closely with the leadership team to make sure there's clear communication around why this addition to your existing process matters, right? We don't replace your process. We don't replace your system. We come right alongside it, easily slide in, and then go hand in hand. And so it connects to specific goals and what success looks like for you. And then just from there, we make the process really easy to adopt so that managers can actually use it in real time, not just conceptually, and get organizational buy-in. Over time, it takes a little time, we know, and that's crucial, and we help make sure that happens. And then the biggest piece is ongoing support. We stay engaged. We coach. We help teams apply this consistently. And I mean, that's my job. I am a client experience. Our goal is to make sure that this doesn't stall out, that nothing goes awry. We look at ROI. We make sure you're getting the results. And so it's not just something that once that you try and then move on. The tools are really designed to be used throughout the entire ecosystem. Even if we start in your highest turnover role, the goal is to move it throughout the organization so it all begins to make sense and the entire employee life cycle, hire to retire. So I really do promise that we're not going to be your next costly mistake. This sort of unrestricted, what I call full throttle use, is what drives sustainability. And it just shifts from being a tool to being a part of how the business runs.
Well, Cobi and Anthony, so much to unpack today. And I know our listeners are going to be, absorbing all of this incredible information. And I'll be so excited to continue to hear all of the success stories that Go Trego is having in the industry. For our audience that's listening today, what is the best way, if they want to get more information, if they're curious to learn more, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, I think basically they can call or text me anytime, Sarah. My mobile number is on the ticker. And if anyone would be interested in what we've done, we've done some research. We've identified the top 6 behavioral traits of high-performing service advisors. If anyone is interested in what the traits are, you can just text me and I'll flip them over to you. Or even better yet, I'll walk you through a free demo and show you exactly how this would work in your dealership.
Yeah, we're like the dealerships. Come kick the tires, take a test drive, right? Those top 6 behavioral traits of high-performing service advisors. Look, we're not trying to hide any information. We want to make sure you all have it. And come on, we know you want to. So just call Anthony.
All right, everybody. There you have it. If you're curious what actually drives those levels of performance, Go Trego has the answers. They're in this industry for a long, long time with an unparalleled track record. Dr. Trego working with the Sewell organization for many, many years. It's actually in the book, okay? It's in Customers for Life. You can read about it. I think it's chapter 18, if I'm not mistaken.
Chapter 18, yes.
All right. So they literally helped write the book on this. Anthony Pantaleone and Cobi Collins there with Go Trego. You see down below not only their information, but you could see the website scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's gotrego.com. GoTrego.com, a big part of what we are doing at the Roundtable. And you see that's your cell phone number, Anthony, 856, because that's a good Jersey number. I recognize that.
Absolutely.
So they can actually not just call, they can text you.
Anytime, 24/7, Ted.
All right. Anthony Pantaleone, everybody, his cell phone scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Cobi Collins with Go Trego. Thank you for all you do for the industry, and we're greatly humbled and appreciative to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Thanks so much.
Team from Go Trego here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Do you want to provide your customers with an exceptional car buying journey rather than just a transaction? As Carl Sewell advocates in his book, Customers for Life, the key to ensuring customer loyalty lies in delivering an enjoyable and memorable experience. And that starts with assembling the right team. But how do you guarantee that you're hiring the best talent for the job? According to Sewell, one of the most effective methods is using a pre-employment assessment called the Trego Personnel Survey. which consistently identifies top talent and transforms company culture. While many dealerships recognize the importance of recruiting top talent, the challenge lies in identifying such talent during the hiring process. Enter Go Trego. With over 40 years of research and expertise in the auto industry, Dr. Trego and his team have been instrumental in helping clients like Sewell and many others figure out if the applicant can and will do the job. We adopt a scientific approach to evaluating candidates' behaviors and accurately predicting their job performance. Say goodbye to the frustrations of dealing with subpar hires. With Go Trego, you can transform your staff into the happiest, friendliest, and most reliable team your customers have ever encountered, ensuring customers for life. Let Go Trego guide you in selecting the perfect talent for your organization.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the hiring and retention panel with Go Trego. And Ted, more important than ever is retention and best practices around it.
Anthony Pantaleone from Go Trego is with us. Anthony, we're so grateful to you and Go Trego for all the support fixed operations.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, Anthony, to kick things off, we want to talk about what separates dealerships that run smooth, consistent daily operations from those that constantly feel reactive. What are your thoughts?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is it's all about process. So process enables dealerships, organizations to have consistencies. You have a process that works to hire the right people and to be able to coach to multiple firms. Then what you're going to do is you're going to add predictability into your process here, operational include. And you can operationalize with ridicule, you have more consistency, but when you don't have that type of consistency, you're going to be for reactive.
Putting out fires as it were. And the old term is, right, you can run around with your head on fire.
But, for sure. And in the beginning,
Carl Sewell said it best. You'll never have above average in business.
It's the average. It's all about process.
So true. And Marco, you've seen many different aspects of this happen in fixed operations. What processes really separate, the experience for employees where it doesn't feel reactive?
Yeah.
Hunter?
I think that if the process are followed and adhered to by all levels of dealership employees, starting from management all the way down to the lowest on the totem pole, and that there's consistency in it, that what one person does is not tolerated and another person does the same thing, it is tolerated. At this point, you have a breach of consistency and a breach of policies. So having everything linear on one line works extremely well. And like Anthony brought out, having the consistency in your processes creates just an atmosphere of perfection in which people exactly know what's expected of them and they can grow within that. Okay.
Anthony, we're here at the Warman Automotive Group, one of the great names in our industry. You can clearly see they've got a focus on people here. I understand they have 1,300 team members throughout 2 states. Question for you. Once a dealership hires strong talent, what are the biggest factors they actually keep them engaged and committed?
Well, Ted, the one thing that comes to my mind, and that's the optimal lever, in my opinion, is leadership.
And the important thing to note here is leadership isn't just about declaring that I'm a leader. Now, commitment and engagement follow. It's really about how the leaders show up every day. It has to be built and maintained through how leaders show up every day. And when leaders connect people and encourage people, commitment equal keep follows. When they don't, then that is the
What's something you've taught us that had the leaders have them engage with the people? Even some of the recollections I have of you telling us about the technician not meeting the general manager, never having that person make any contact with them versus one who is engaged.
So exactly. It is a people business.
Ted. It is absolutely a people business. Without our people, I don't care what you throw at a shop, what you throw at a dealership. It is so important for all ranks of management to know and engage with all their personnel. Doesn't matter if it's a porter, a technician, the salesperson. It is so important to stay personable. It is a people business, and we cannot forget this.
I remember one of the best practices in shirt about the cupcakes. And I actually see other people now posting that. So, how does it feel when other people start using your stuff?
You know what? I think I deserve a cupcake for that one, but I think it's so good to see that people are actually engaging on that level. They took something so simple and it has such a great impact. It's the small things. So guys, have a cupcake.
Well, Anthony, we want to also touch on the onboarding process, because this is a critical time when employees' perceptions form about the effectiveness of the organization that they're joining. So what does a strong onboarding process look like, and how much does the first 30 days determine on-direct success?
Well, in my opinion, it really dictates your performance trajectory in the days. And, the takeaway here is behavioral information. You look at a lot of onboarding processes, they're for flooded and informational. Let fuck off. What's key here is the behaviors. When operators are able to quantify and define what are those essential behaviors, what are the behaviors that drive economic value? When they understand those, they can coach to those in a teachable way. That creates economic value for the organization. So the focus here is understand the behaviors, coach early, coach often, engagement, performance for fall. If that does not occur, then you're going to have a trouble. We're never going to have customers' voice. You don't have.
So true. And Marco, thinking about those first 30 days for technicians, I mean, that's a critical moment when they're joining the dealership and what happens there.
Absolutely. So you get to see firsthand if everything you talked about in your interviews with management, etc., is it actually taking place? Is the promises that are made, are they being kept? Another thing I think that we are pretty bad at when it comes to onboarding, especially if you hire people from out of state, give them a little help on good places to live in town. What are good school zones? Where can you do groceries? Where to rent an apartment? Have information like that handy. But I dare to push it past the 30 days. I think the first year at a dealership is the most important. This way, the technician gets to see all 4 seasons, including slow time. They get to see who is the cancer in the shop and what is being tolerated and what is not, what politics are being played. So I would push it past the 30 days and make it a full year. That's usually the time that you see a lot of technicians will leave after year 1.
Ted, it's incredible to see all of the innovation that's happening in the automotive industry, and especially in fixed operations, and how retention and positive hiring strategies really focus the efforts on an incredible culture.
And Go Trego works with some of the great dealers, the great dealer groups in our industry. Anthony, thank you so much for what Go Trego does, starting way back with the Soul organization to this day, and all the great innovation you're able to help us.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
I'm Ted Ings with Sarah Van Tyne. We're here at the Warman Automotive Group, and we'll be right back.
If your phones could talk, they'd be asking for Numa. Let's hear it.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Van Tyne here with Ted Ings. Today we have Derek Simonds of Numa with us, and we're going to be talking about how AI is fueling fixed ops profitability. Exciting conversation, Ted.
It is, Sarah. Derek has been telling us about AI for the longest time. It's here, it's now. Derek Simonds, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted and Sarah, thank you. I am always thrilled and delighted to be on the Fixed Ops Roundtable and looking forward to sharing some hard data with your viewers today that I think they can take back to the stores and start implementing on.
Well, Sarah and I took a little bit of a peek before we got started in the green room. It looks exciting. So, Derek, with that, the show is yours.
All right, let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through 3 profit opportunities that are in front of every single service department in the United States. So let's just run through this real quick. When we look at the most profitable service departments, they're not working harder. That's not what they're doing. They're seeing something that everybody else is missing. And one of the big challenges is it's hard to analyze vast quantities of data when you're living in it, right? It's that forest for the trees things. So we analyzed 400 million conversations that have taken place inside of Numa over the last 4 years across all of our dealerships, thousands and thousands of rooftops, because we wanted to see where is revenue won or lost. And there are 3 things that we identified that are critical across every single dealership that we engage with. Number 1 is at point of scheduling. When that customer calls to book an appointment, you have the opportunity to lose the total appointment and not even get them in. You have the opportunity to get the appointment, or you have the opportunity to get the appointment plus some additional revenue. We're going to look at that, and we're going to show you how you can produce additional revenue just from the recommendation during the appointment scheduling. The second one's during the visit. Look, heat cases, negative sentiment, all of that is actually a core driver of revenue loss. We call it silent defection. These are the customers that are upset, that don't complain to executive management, and then just disappear. They never come back. And then after the sale, what happens as we are continuing to engage with that customer through the life cycle, that marketing, that messaging, how do we get them back on a consistent basis? And once we get them back, how do we make sure that we do the right work for them? So let's look at this hidden revenue that's in every single booking. When I talk about added service to us is actually targeted. It's relevant to the customer. It's not just a random, hey, do you want to get wiper blades when you're in here, right? It actually means something to the customer. And when the phone rings, you've really got only 3 minutes to recommend the right additional service once you get talking to a customer. If you look at NADA averages, the average appointment call lasts between 6 and 8 minutes, and they're actually only talking to a dealership employee for 3 to 5 minutes. And so your team has to act and has to act quick. The problem that we see is that the customer's full story lives in 4 different systems. It could be in a service CRM, it could be in the OEM. Like we might have to go look up recalls in Toyota system. It could be in the DMS, right? We're looking up declined service. It might not be in the DMS. It might be actually in the inspection tool because it doesn't push declined service back to the DMS, right? This is an ongoing problem that we see with the tools when they're not connected all the way back to the DMS. So unfortunately, these aren't synced. And so when a customer gets on the phone to schedule an appointment, it's very hard for the person that's scheduling the appointment to know, hey, what's the recall status? What's the declined service status from last time? What's the maintenance due that they should be doing at this time? So that recommendation exists. It's already in your data, your BDC team or your appointment setter, they just can't reach it in 3 minutes, right? And so we actually see that 1 out of every 2 ROs that comes into the shop had declined work from the last visit. 50% of the cars that hit the lane actually had declined service from the last visit that we didn't talk about.
Huge.
We also see that it takes 3 minutes, like I said, when they're talking and the systems aren't synced. So here's what happens. Customer calls in for an oil change. When you're using an AI tool, it can pull the VIN history, it can pull recalls, it can pull declined services. It looks at all of that. It also looks at mileage and campaign eligibility for things that are coming up, right? Are they due for their 30,000, their 60,000, their 45,000 Schedule A service, right? And then it's going to recommend those additional services targeted and direct that are relevant to the customer. That's what makes the big difference, right? And so we see that the average RO that we see is 225. When the AI makes recommendation, we're actually picking up an additional $235 per repair order. And that's 104% median uplift.
It's that big.
It's that big. It's that big. And the thing is, again, targeted, relevant, right? Data driven, not just a random upsell. I'm going to show you how this also plays into marketing when we get to the end, when we start talking about marketing. But this is powerful. Like this is literally game changing for dealerships. Because if you could do this, right? If you did this on every RO, obviously you just doubled your profits in a month, right? But you're not going to get it on every RO. But that's the reason why we see when it makes a recommendation, the average is $235. This can be done at dealerships without having to use AI. We actually work with a dealer group in Texas that does this through their BDC. They're running the same kind of numbers, but they have everything in one system. They've done a really good job at making sure they can get all that information from their DMS when the customer calls in. So this can be done by a human. Let's just make sure that we know what the customer needs. We can pull it up, we can communicate, and the team knows how to ask for it. So when you look at this, if you can get 20% adoption on a 500 RO month store, that's another $23,000 per month in service revenue. And that's big. That's game changing for where we're at. So our focus with the AI is automating this process. But like I said, anybody can do this at the store with their BDC. All they need to do is make sure they have access to the data and that they make that presentation. All right. This next part is kind of mind blowing.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about what happens when the customer's in there during the visit. When you look at what happens, and I encourage service managers to do this, call people that didn't come back for service, that defected, and find out why. And it's actually kind of frightening, right? Most of the customers you lose never told you why. You find it out in reviews, in Google review. They never called me back, right? You find out in your CSI score, they didn't fix it right the first time and communication was horrible. And you find out because they just don't come back, right? So most of the time, these are lagging indicators. The service is already done, right?
Yes.
They got their CSI survey in the mail and they sent it back, or they got it emailed to them. So minimum, it's 3 days after they left, but it could be 10 days, 2 weeks, a month later. So the money's gone. That customer is already a defect risk. So when we look at CSI, these are all after the customer left. And 82% of the people that you leave that defect over communication, not the repair. This is nuts. It's not the repair that's causing people to defect, it's communication. We see that 40% of the negative reviews trace to a call that nobody returned. We can literally trace a negative review back to a customer that called into the dealership and never got a return phone call. And 45% of owners are unhappy with their dealership service experience, but they don't tell the dealers, right? This is just the people that are kind of percolating that are out there. So when we look at this, remember, this is over 400 million conversations. What we see is that average dealer is about 133 negative conversations per thousand. Okay. That's about 1 in 8. Wow. A negative conversation is not a heat case. You're going to see that in just a second. These people are frustrated. They're concerned. They're annoyed. This could escalate. A good AI program is going to flag this while it's happening so that you can get involved while the customer's still in your shop, not after you get a survey and the customer's already trashed you. Right?
Hey, Derek, can we
Yes.
come to Sarah for some color on this? Sarah?
Let's do it.
In the BDC, in the service BDC, does this sound about right?
Oh, yes. And Derek, I'm so glad that you're addressing this because again, like this is the point in the sphere of the conversation where the customer begins that process and it's what you recognize and adapt to here that makes all the difference.
Yeah. And look, you don't have to have Numa to do this. If you've got Car Wars or Call Review or any other call recording software that's actually tagging sentiment,
yes,
you can get to this data yourself without having an AI. Having the AI just makes it easier because it escalates it and it brings it to the appropriate person's attention instantly instead of going through reporting to find it. But there's ways to handle this. So now this is where it gets interesting to kind of what Sarah just said. When you look at the next level, we actually break out that 133. 36 out of 1,000 or 36 of the 133 are actually what we call heat cases. These are people that are potential lawsuit risk. They are a viral review risk.
Sure.
This is a customer who needs someone to act at this moment in time. This is somebody we are pushing to executive management at the store level going, hey, you got a problem, right? And this is a critical action customer. 97 out of that 133 or 97 per thousand is actually quietly frustrated. They're not yelling, they're not complaining, but they're not happy. And those are the ones that are the silent defectors that we still escalate, that we still surface, that we're not letting just get away. And you can just do very little minimal action, but a communication from a manager tends to resolve any issues these customers have. And so we're putting in front of you in that way. So if you act on the heat case, right, what we see is a 53% resolution rate on heat cases in our best performing stores. So AI triages and they get it to you, and then the fastest acting scores resolve more than half. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This is far and away, this has been documented across multiple different industries. But if you have a customer that's upset and you resolve their problem in a timely fashion, they will tell 10 to 12 people about you in a positive manner. Okay. If you don't, they're going to tell a couple of people about how crappy the experience was and maybe write a bad review. If you're just in the middle of the road, they don't tell anybody. Right. So I tell people all the time, when you have a customer that's upset, this is your opportunity to create some marketing for your dealership. Think about the fact that they're going to tell 10 or 12 people about how you resolve the problem. And this becomes really crazy important, because when you look at the negative conversations that are hidden from the dealership, it represents about $200,000 at risk per dealership on a monthly basis. And this is the reason why we talk about communications, not a CSAT status or a CSAT metric. It's a revenue metric. Communication is all about revenue. The faster we respond to a customer, the more they'll spend with us. The faster we respond to the customer, the happier that they are. The longer it takes for us to respond, or if we don't respond to a customer, the negative sentiment and the negative dollars that they spend. It's just powerful. This is where we look at it and say, okay, real talk, pay attention to these customers. Don't let them become defectors. And you know what's interesting? Think about in a dealership, okay? You're in the dealership, you're an advisor, and you're actually booking 2 weeks out today for service. How concerned are you if you think somebody's going to leave, right? The people that have to drive this conversation are the executive managers. They're the ones that have to be driving that conversation. So they have to pay attention to it.
Leadership.
Now, after the sale, so we say this all the time. Every single customer that's been in your shop is an appointment waiting to happen, right? And how do we do that? Well, when we look at what we call informational marketing versus promotional marketing, we're seeing an order of magnitude improvement in the actual booking of appointments. So if you do informational, which is a reason, it's a data signal, it's a service the customer needs and they know it, we're actually seeing across all of our dealerships that are doing this, 19% of the people that we message are actually scheduling appointments and showing up at the dealership. If you look at a traditional coupon mailer or a coupon email or a coupon text message, it's a 1.9%, 1.8% booking. Okay. If you send somebody, hey, it's the spring tire event, buy 3 tires, get 1 free. Nobody comes in off of that. Do you know who uses that coupon? The advisor in the lane to try and close the customer on getting tires, right? Am I right, Ted?
That's right. That's
So
every time. Yep.
we don't get action from a customer on a promotional message. We don't. Information drives conversion, and it's powerful. So
Sarah, I want to bottle this slide. That last slide, I want to bottle that. That's so powerful.
I do too.
yeah. And I'm gonna break it down even more and tell you which campaigns are the most successful. So if you look, these are 3 things that we think are chances to bring customers back. So maintenance due. This is the biggest opportunity by volume. Every shop has hundreds and hundreds of people that have overdue maintenance. How do you get it? You mine your database, right? We see on maintenance due 16.5% schedule appointments when we message them. That's pretty powerful. Missed appointment recovery. Now, one of the big claims to fame for Numa is that we consistently run about an 89% show rate across all of our dealers with the appointments that are scheduled through our appointment agent, which is powerful. There's still 11% that didn't make it. And that's the ones that we need to be going after for missed appointment recovery, right? And so the AI is actually able to message with that customer, and we're getting a 20% schedule rate out of missed appointment recovery. And then abandoned win back. These are customers who dropped out of your service cycle that we haven't seen in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And the AI is still getting 6% of those, which is 3 times better than what you get from a traditional coupon mailer. So when we look at this, this is where it gets even better. Because this is the number that the AI did by itself with no human involvement. What we see proactive dealers do, like Longo, is that they feed the remainder of those customers that did not book back into their BDC. And what do? They go after them. They're doubling these rates. Longo's running 38, 39, 40% close rates on some of the opportunity marketing that they're doing. And it's because what doesn't get caught by the AI and automatically scheduled, they've got that human in the loop that's able to make that outbound call to follow up and to get the appointment. So really powerful. So these are 4 other little looks into some very targeted mailers that are absolutely powerful. Malfunction indicator, right? One of the things that the OEMs are doing today is that they tell us which customers had a malfunction indicator light come on their dash yesterday. We get the file from them, upload it in, AI communicates with the customer. 31.3% of those are scheduling appointments. With the AI, no human involved. It's huge. Recalls are booking right now at a 7.1%. Recalls, we only book appointments with the AI on recalls that we know we have parts availability.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of them are too difficult. They require a human. So we get the engagement with the customer on the recall and then push that to the human in the loop to get them to schedule it, because they need to coordinate on when that customer comes in based upon the availability of parts. Declined services. We see a 3.1% schedule. And it's not huge, but I'm giving you the real numbers.
Yeah.
If you send out a text message 36 hours after the customer leaves with a reason to come back on a declined service, and this is something anybody can do right now. I'm sure everybody on here is using Sunbit or Affirm or Dignify or somebody to offer financing to customers that can't afford it. Well, what we do is when we text the customer back, we say, hey, your safety, Ted, and the maintenance of your vehicle is of paramount importance to us. When you were last in, your service advisor had recommended the brakes. We want you to know that we have a service now, pay later program. You can click the link below to get it approved, and we'll go ahead and schedule your appointment. And we're seeing tremendous success just from that. It's logical and it's easy.
Sure.
And look, the reality is Affirm has got what, a 95, 98% approval rate.
Almost
but
100%.
customers don't know that.
Yep.
And they feel awkward, and they don't want to submit an application and get turned down for a brake job, right? But if you text it to them, they will click through that link while they're sitting there watching TV. They will. And then no visit. This is where we say, hey, you're at a 30,000 mile service, or hey, you should be up for your next oil change based upon your last visit and your mileage history. If we can give them a logical reason that their maintenance is due, we're seeing about a 16.5% booking rate there. So I know this is a data-rich presentation. There's a lot of stuff that I threw at you, but I wanted to talk about this because I really believe that any dealership can attack these 3 areas of profitability, whether they got AI or not, right? So that's before the sale, get that appointment scheduled, and offer them the additional services that are logical and are needed. During the visit, let's pay attention to the customers and not have a profit leak because we got silent defectors. And then after the sale, let's use informational marketing, not promotional marketing. Right? If we can be targeted and we can send out that informational marketing, you're going to have much more success at booking those appointments. So there you go, Ted.
Derek, super timely. And Sarah, I mean, this is the latest and greatest and spot on with AI.
It is, Ted. And this is so exciting, Derek, as you mentioned. These are big opportunities for dealerships to really capture their retention and really keep more customers coming into their service department. So congratulations on all that you have built with Numa and all the success you're continuing to see.
Well, thank you.
So now if our audience wants to drill down on these stats and find out how it's going to work for them, Derek, best way is to reach out to Numa.com. You tell us.
Yeah, if you go to Numa.com, there's a request a demo page. You can request a demo. You can email me, Derek@Numa.com. It's super simple, and I'll get you with the right regional sales manager. But we love your audience, Ted. Anything that we can do, even if they just got questions about this, we'd love to talk about it.
Derek Simonds, everybody. Numa is the big name, and he's here on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. So, Derek, thank you very much, and thanks for kicking things off with this and this amazing information. So everybody, for more information, Numa.com. You can also reach out, email to Derek@Numa.com. Derek Simonds, everybody, from Numa, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you both.
Experience more. More sales, more profit, more efficiency. Experiences consumers want and results dealers need with superior automotive insights fueling AI and the only industry partner that gives you best-in-class connected solutions. Cox Automotive.
Please welcome Michael Cirillo and the best of Northwood University in our next segment.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have an all-star panel with us. And Ted, what an incredible group we've got on the stage.
We do, and we're so honored because we have the voice of the Fixed Ops Roundtable himself, Michael Cirillo from the Dealer Playbook is with us. Michael, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
This is AI Michael, actually, as I said in. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I love the energy here.
Michael, you're flanked by some of the best students at Northwood University in Midland, Michigan. Isabella Stevens is with us, Bella Smylie to your left, and of course the intern himself, Stephen Heckbarth is with us. So I believe they have some questions for you today, if that's okay.
I've said this name before many times, Isabella Stevens.
Hey, there it is. That's right. That's right. Yeah, he's got it down. Yes, that's her in the flesh.
Love it.
All right. Stephen, maybe a question or two for...
Absolutely. So I know that one of the most amazing things about the Dealer Playbook is your emphasis on real conversations with industry leaders and people that not only give advice, but also knowledge about how to build culture. And you seem to be a big advocate of building a strong culture. What are some of your biggest takeaways from your podcast as to how to cultivate that great culture?
Oh, that's a good question. Right out of the gates, they're heavy hitters right out of the gates.
I promised you the best.
This is advice my dad taught me. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them proportionately. The best leaders in the world listen more than they speak. They're wrong more than they're right, and they include their teams into every conversation through the vantage point of each of the people. You see, just because, let's say traditionally, just because you're students right now does not mean that you don't have any life experience, doesn't mean that you don't have your own opinions, doesn't mean that you're not thinking, right? The best leaders will say, like Ted's doing, right? And Sarah, they'll say, hey, give me your best ideas. I want to explore the big, bold, beautiful thoughts in that brain of yours. And so because they're paying attention to those things, they're looking at ways to constantly bring everybody along for the ride. And what that does is it increases morale and confidence, right? It increases your level of buy-in. And so that's something that really stands out to me that I'm hyper conscious of.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, Michael, you have a very big, vast portfolio. You've had a lot of jobs, a lot of titles. What is your best piece of advice?
Yes.
No, good days. But great titles. But what is your best piece of advice to the younger generation and our students that are here on the panel today?
This is where I break the fourth wall. Did you hear what she just asked me? What's the best advice I have for this up and coming generation? I'll tell you, what you see on social media is not real. Pay more attention to you. Create your own headlines.
Yes.
Stop worrying about the headlines that are out on social media, because I know half of the people there, and I wish they would lose my phone number.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think the rising generation, be so confident in the ideas you have. You guys are so creative. You guys have so many great ideas. You deserve to explore those for yourself, staying hyper-focused, not worrying about what anybody else might think of it.
Wow. Kind of piggybacking off of Isabella there, what would be your piece of advice to students that are getting into the automotive industry for the first time?
I would say be prepared to work. This is an industry that rewards work. This is also an industry that rewards innovation and creativity. Innovation for me is not about necessarily coming up with something net new all of the time. Innovation to me is paying attention to the tools and resources that are at your disposal and assembling them in a way that is fresh for you and fresh to solving a problem for somebody. Do you understand? So let's look at what has happened with the Fixed Ops Roundtable, for example. Did cameras exist before the Fixed Ops Roundtable? Yes. Did Ted Ings exist before the Fixed Ops Roundtable? Yes. Everything that we needed existed already, but Ted and those that he's brought along with him, has assembled it into something that's really, truly unique. And so you already have access to everything you need to be successful.
Great advice. Sarah, you may have a question from Michael Cirillo.
Yes, Michael, looking ahead at 2026, there's a lot of conversations in the industry, and there's a lot that dealers are thinking about in their businesses. But now more than ever, fixed operations is taking the spotlight of what dealers really need to be embracing for the future of their businesses. What advice would you give our audience today on elements that they can kind of take those additional steps to be more profitable and more for their people in the year ahead?
Oh my gosh, I think fixed ops is the catalyst for so much of the dealership's operation. However, like we know, it often takes the second seat, it's second fiddle. But think about this. If somebody buys a car from your dealership and then brings it back at their regular intervals for its maintenance from a certified technician, now that dealership knows the quality of the workmanship that's been done on that vehicle. They have its complete history, and that can be the catalyst for a hyperloop that drives acquisition back into so I call it kind of a hyperloop, and we really need to be thinking about it from that vantage point, because it is like an automatic watch that self-winds, the thing that could be driving an entire dealership's operation if we paid attention to it through that lens.
Michael, thanks for all the answers to those rapid fire questions.
My pleasure.
But,
it's fun.
the interns are used to working under pressure, okay, and having a lot thrown at them in a short period of time. So we wanted to see how diligent they could be in asking questions.
They almost made me crack. I almost broke.
I have one more question, if you don't mind.
All right, let's have it.
So I just think it's fascinating. You've spoken with so many great leaders in fixed ops and in the dealership world. What's one thing you noticed through talking with all these people that makes you stand out and say, okay, that's a good leader?
The best leaders that I've observed care a lot about their people actually to a disproportionate level, right? They're not there to just storm over people. They're there to include them in every step of the way. So it's similar to the first question that you asked. I think it's a complete loop, which is they care so much about their people. The second thing is they have such clarity in their vision that they will never apologize for it. You are here for this ride, and you can be on the ship, or you can't be on the ship at all. The third thing that I would say is they also have such deep clarity about their core value, visions, and beliefs, and in an uncompromising fashion are only willing to build their team of people based on compatibility with those core values and beliefs. If you do not believe what I believe, if you are not compatible with my beliefs and my vision, believe or be leaving. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Yeah.
All right. Michael, finally, what are you working on for 2026? What's ahead for Michael Cirillo and Dealer Playbook?
Oh my gosh, Dealer Playbook, we are going bigger and badder than we've ever gone. We have a brand new studio in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
So we're going to be doing a lot more in-person interviews and bringing people to the show. The exploration this year is how to speed up human connection. There's a lot of talk about AI. I believe, my position, I said it here, my position is that technology can speed up human connection, because as long as human beings live on this planet, we are all going to come out of the womb innately desiring to shake somebody's hand, to be trusted and to trust. And so we can leverage technology to speed up that connection.
That's amazing.
Well said.
Can I take a quick poll of the students on here? How many of you, by a show of hands, would like to see Michael Cirillo involved in more in-person events at the Fixed Ops Roundtable?
Oh, shucks.
All right.
There
we go. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, great to have you in person, and keep up the amazing work. And thank you for all you do for Fixed Operations.
Thank you for all you do.
All right.
Pleasure to be here.
Michael Cirillo, everybody, the voice of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, the Dealer Playbook, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Have we had the rock revolution?
Every step I take feels like destiny. Game on the lot with my legacy. The grind ain't free and it can't be bought. Grind ain't free and it can't be bought. Mind of a champion, I bring in every thought. I set the level.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have Laurie Halter with us. And Ted, what an amazing conversation.
Laurie Halter of Charisma Communications, absolute force in our industry. Great to see you in person, my friend.
I am so happy to be here with both of you. What an exciting show.
Laurie, you're doing so much for the industry. Tell us a little bit first, if you don't mind, about Charisma and what you're doing and some of the things that you're working on right now.
Yeah, I would love that. So I own Charisma Communications, which is a PR agency in the space. We've been around for over 20 years, and we work almost primarily with technology companies that sell into dealerships. So we have, we work across the spectrum of companies, everything from recall management to, especially from a fixed ops standpoint, recall management, customer AI, customer experience. Pretty much, you name it, we do it.
And fixed ops seems to be lately, like the last 5 years, like the niche that you're really expanding.
Yeah, well, fixed ops, as we all know, is where you make the money, right? It's where the dealerships are making the money. And so fixed ops really is like the heartbeat of a dealership, and it really is where dealers find the profits. So
what convinced you to start this company and embark on this? Because I remember initially, there were maybe 1 or 2 clients that we had in common that we worked with together. But what convinced you to expand? Because I see you continue to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, I think it's just like this industry as a whole is just so fun, right? And the more people that you meet, the more they say, oh, I need to introduce you to so-and-so, or like, I need you to meet this person. I need you to meet this client. And so we've just been so blessed in terms of just growing. Fixed ops, again, though, like I say, it's just more of, that's where the profits are coming from for the dealers. And it's harder and harder on the retail side to make and turn a profit. Fixed ops is just where everything's like coming into focus and the profits are coming from.
And Laurie, we're having a lot of innovation that's happening right now in our industry, but the message that our dealers are listening to and what they're taking away from all of these companies, how do you really help craft some of this communication to resonate with our fixed ops leaders?
Yeah, I love this, and that's such a good question. I was just talking to Dan Shine this morning, and I'll use AI as an example. AI is coming out and it's all great, but so many people have AI, so many different companies, that he said, at some point it just becomes noise. Everything becomes noise because we've heard it all the time. So what we like to do, and the way we help fixed ops directors and companies, is help craft a message that breaks through the noise and really speaks to the benefit that it brings to the customer. Because a lot of times what we'll find is these companies are talking about the benefit that it brings or the product-focused information. But really, at the end of the day, the truth is it's what these products are bringing to the customers. So, yeah, we like to kind of cut through the noise, help them with the message.
And one thing I've noticed, you really help brands not only craft their message, but even more importantly, stay on message.
Yes.
Talk to us about that and the importance of doing that.
Well, staying on message is key, right? I mean, we work with so many people, and we'll work with them on media training and things, because really your brand is what you're doing and saying. And so you want to ensure you're staying on message, again, speaking to the benefits that your products provide and not getting off course. And we do a lot of work around that.
Looking ahead into 2026, are there any particular technologies or niches that you're aware of that you might want to share with us? That because you, like we, I think, see things early before they happen.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, I know everyone's sick to death of hearing about AI, but that's what is happening across the board.
Yes.
And so I'll tell you, like, one of our clients, True Video, brought to some of the shows.
Joe
Shaker
amazing.
Has brought to some of the shows this idea of True Labs, which is an innovation hub, and it's got everything from you can order a coffee now through an app and go pick it up. They have tire tread. You can take a picture of a tire and its tire tread. Of course, they've always been seamless communication with AI. So I just think the proliferation of AI and how it's helping streamline that customer communication is just going to continue to expand. That's what we're saying.
Joe Shaker and True Video have now become, as you know, thanks to you, a big part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and Joe has elevated the conversation. So those are the kinds of companies you work with as well.
Yep.
But not just the big companies, the smaller companies.
Yes.
Who will become big as a result of some of the things that you're doing.
I appreciate that. And yes, my favorite is launching companies. That's where we shine. I love working with companies that are just coming onto the scene. And, we like to say, because we've been in the industry so long, the influence we can provide to those early stage companies is really important because we give them the connections that they don't have but need it desperately.
So do you take some of the best practices that you see from companies like True Video, just as an example, and you maybe apply some of those strategies that have worked for some of the other companies that are up and coming?
Yeah, and the great thing is we work with so many clients in this space and we talk to so many people that we know what actually works, what works well, including the Fix Ops Roundtable. I tell every single one of my clients to be on the Fix Ops Roundtable. But we know what works. We're seeing trends across the board. So we're able to bring a lot more education to them and a lot more kind of influence and than they would have otherwise, really. We know the strategy, we know the people, we're able to get them into the places they need to be.
When I first met Laurie, Sarah, I think it was just Laurie, or maybe, she had some help, but now her team is growing. So you mind telling us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I joke that I do nothing anymore. Like, that's my job at the company, is do nothing. Okay. But no, I have 5 people on board. We have a social media person, someone who does all of our writing. There's Tully. Someone who does all of our writing, someone who handles marketing. Allie is here with me and she helps me with PR. So our team's really grown and it gives us the ability to really take care of our clients with the best and everything. Everyone on the team's been in the automotive industry for decades. So
great.
We all know the industry very well.
Well, Laurie, thank you for all you do. And I know, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, well, Laurie, it's amazing to hear all of the success that you're having. And just in closing, if our dealers or anybody who wants to elevate their brand in the industry, what's the best first step to find out more information?
Thank you so much for asking. Best is probably go to LinkedIn, Laurie Halter, or go to our website, charismacommunications.com.
All right, here she is, everybody. This is the lady who makes it happen. She can help elevate your brand like no other. Her name is Laurie Halter, Charisma Communications. She has the seal of approval from the Fix Ops Roundtable.
I love
like
it.
Nobody else.
Okay.
Speak to her. She's the one who will make it happen. Laurie Halter with Sarah Ventine and us here today at the Fix Ops Roundtable.
Day 4 is done. We've sharpened the strategy, challenged the thinking, and zeroed in on what actually drives results. But it all comes down to tomorrow, day 5, the final day. We're bringing it home on the biggest stage in Fixed Ops with the strongest finish of the week. Big voices, bold ideas, and the kind of momentum you bring straight back to your dealership. We'll be back on stage tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, and we are closing this thing out loud.